Hey, so we're back, and, well, as ever, it's just been another crazy week, but I have a feeling that that's kind of not going to be changing in the very near future. So, we, of course, got Greg, and we're going to have Steve in just a moment, but we're going to start with the hot topic. It seems that NAMBLA has opened up a new chapter under the name of Lincoln Project, and John Weaver, their founder, has really escalated the relationship status, you could say, of the Lincoln name.
I'm ripping this one off of Twitter, but I think John Weaver was excited when he first heard about the Proud Boys. Then he got very, very disappointed.
Yeah, boy, I'm sure he would have loved, with a capital L, to meet some Proud Boys.
Some gentleman of his certain persuasion.
Absolutely.
Oh, actually, gentleman sounds a little bit too age inappropriate, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, we don't want to be ageist here, you know.
Yeah. Hey. He
love at
perfectly
any age, right?
Here's the funny thing: as a capitalist himself, he actually agrees with the socialist on something. He and Vosh would get along very, very well.
Oh, he likes horses?
No,
I can imagine he probably has something of an equestrian, you know, on top of, you know, his predilection for...
Oh, no, just that in a socialist utopia that the age of consent would have to be adjusted, according to Vosh.
I see. I don't really pay too much attention.
See, there's a power dynamic at play normally, apparently, between a person who's under 18 and someone who's over 18 in capitalism. But in apparently the socialist communist utopia, you don't have such a power dynamic at play. Everybody's fucking equal, so everybody is fucking equally.
Well, there you go. So, for the people that aren't aware of this, let's actually kind of dig into what's going on.
I think it's over the number that keeps flying around now. But at least 21 people, at least 21 young men
under 21
have come out.
Not less than 21 men, just all of them were under 21.
At least 21 individuals.
And most of them were actually under 18.
21.
Just to be clear.
Of age not 21.
Yeah. Significantly lower than 21 even.
As low as 14, by the way, as of 2015. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the scary one there. I was looking at, so the problem I have with the source I have on that one is that it's the same woman that decided to post a bunch of bullshit about Project Veritas. So I don't explicitly trust her, but I do trust all the other allegations that are out there. Her covering it is annoying because she's not credible, but the people she's covering are credible. They have documented proof of what happened. So this isn't like an allegation against Trump where it's a he said, she said. This is a literal, documented in writing, I have the fucking receipts moment. This is more like Cosby than it is Trump.
I see. Well, that's understandable.
Which is upsetting.
And now we're
upsetting for Rick Wilson, that is. Who probably is on the action, but he's not going to say shit, is he?
Oh, well, it's a big party, and we're all not invited. In this case, it's, a pizza party. Or was it hot dogs? I can never remember.
Oh, man.
Chicago hot dogs?
Yeah, he's...
Something like
that. He's enjoying that cheese pizza, is he?
Probably. I know these Washington types are all real Epicureans. They're very particular about the things they like to eat, so it's very likely.
Yeah.
Hot dogs,
like congealed period blood.
Yeah. They like their cooking to be done with spirit, you could say.
That's fucking disgusting.
So what's happened here basically?
Scotch not worth drinking.
Yeah, the founder of the Lincoln Project has basically been found out by, not specifically Chris Hansen, but, your Chris Hansen types, and people are asking him to have a seat over here, and he just does not want to have a seat. He just doesn't. He seems like one of those guys that kind of, I brought the pizza, the cheese pizza for everybody to eat. I'm going to go ahead and go on out the door, and that's,
The thing that's bothersome is all the other people on projects, on the Lincoln Project, they've all tried to distance themselves. They've released like this one mealy-mouthed, weak-ass letter about it. They decided to try to, I say, because everybody fucking noticed, secretly just take him off their website. So you can't just memory hold this shit, man. You can't gaslight it. We know he was involved. He was very fucking loud about it, and you guys were all happy that he was present until you weren't. And the fact of the matter was, it was an open secret amongst all the young boys that were involved, all the young men that were coming into their own in that organization. Unfortunately, they all had to deal with this motherfucker, and everybody fucking knew it. So if any of them try to distance themselves, saying he was in his own world, it wasn't us. Yeah, sorry, Charlie, it's not going to fly.
Yeah, I mean, just right off the bat, Axios ran cover for Weaver. And not only that, they didn't cover the initial allegations, they even ran his side of the story as opposed to doing so. The Atlantic ran cover for John Weaver. I mean, we're...
Yeah. It's stupid.
It's really, really something, you know. You've got this bad orange man that's done something, and then you've got, you know, NAMBLA John over here.
And then I didn't really mean to pull in Trump as a comparison here necessarily, because you don't need, like, it's the same shit with several other things that are going on. He's not relevant to this at all. This is entirely about Project Lincoln, or God damn it. Project other shit is coming into my head here. Lincoln Project. It's entirely about them. It has nothing to do with what they were commenting on in terms of politics. This was an internal issue they had, and bringing up anyone else's supposed or confirmed misdeeds is completely irrelevant, because we know with factual proven evidence that this guy is a fucking pedo, and he should be in prison already. But you know, I guess they're gonna have to prove it in court first, and then maybe go after him that way. I just feel bad for these young guys who came in thinking they were gonna do something special.
Well, it depends on how you define special.
That's the problem, isn't it? It's a matter of perspective issues there.
It really does. I mean, if you're not an ageist, you know, you might think the things that are happening to John Weaver are inappropriate. But, you know...
Or everything that he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible that you were willing to co-sign all of his batshit projects. But, you know, I wouldn't advise it. So, hey, what are you going to do? These are the times in which we live, right? Well, damn, I was really, really hoping that Steve would be able to hop in here to weigh in on this fun topic. But I guess he's busy with, you know, people that are actually of age and legal. So, you know, I can't fault him.
He owns a dog.
He does. Or does a dog own him?
And, you know,
that does seem like a pushy dog.
If you're an appropriate dog owner, it's definitely a mutual ownership there. You know, you pay the fucking taxes and the license fees, and then all the food costs, and then they pay you with happiness.
So kind of the opposite of the government. You know,
kinda.
You pay all the
weird,
food money and all the taxes, and then they give you despair.
Then they give you more misery.
Yeah. Speaking of the government giving you stuff. Oh, hey, look who's joined us.
Are your ears burning, buddy?
Oh.
Well, his ears are burning, but his mic isn't.
Indeed, it's not. Or maybe his mic is literally burning.
Well, it could be.
It could be.
You know they have a cream for that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
We got you, man.
Because I cannot hear you, it seems.
Oh, shit.
Well, I'm here.
The other way.
Let's try.
We'll figure this thing out, by God.
Damn it, come back in here so I can be a dick to you directly.
There we go.
Hey.
Perfect timing.
So we just finished wrapping up on the John Weaver issue, and you know the
you don't
fact
have
that
to wrap up on it.
I know nothing about John Weaver.
Well,
oh, you know anything about the Lincoln Project?
No, actually, see, my entire weekend was consumed with the fact that the entire world is screwing over the hedge funds, and I was laughing as the world burns, which is my favorite kind of laughing.
Well, it's not even the whole world that's burning. It's basically just the oligarchs' corner of it, which makes it that much more hilarious.
That is the whole world. Didn't you listen to the Democrats? They're very concerned about
Nothing else
protecting
happens in the
people
world
from
than that.
themselves.
That's right. We do have to protect people from
Look,
themselves.
this is very dangerous to our democracy.
In which case, John Weaver will make the attempt.
So what's going on with the Lincoln Project? Inform me, boys.
It's the pedo project now.
Yeah, they've become the latest wing of NAMBLA, you could say.
Excellent. Well, NAMBLA needs as many people as it can get.
Well,
Yeah, it has
the North American Association of Marlon Brando lookalikes is a very important organization.
Oh, god damn, that was
Bless his
funny
soul.
as fuck. Oh, that was such a good episode.
That was such a good episode. To people who don't know, it's like one of South Park. It's like season 1 of South Park, where essentially they wanted to. I can't remember.
NAMBLA moved into town, and Eric Cartman got involved.
Yeah,
Eric
so it was,
Cartman, he got to meet these
got
these
pissed
guys.
off
They're just really nice guys that really like kids. And,
he got pissed off at the others and told them they weren't mature enough. He's going to go find some people that are.
Yeah.
End up with fucking NAMBLA.
And then he ended up going to the mad scientist's house, and the mad scientist was part of a different kind of NAMBLA, which was Marlon Brando lookalikes. And so then they got confused, and so the two NAMBLAs went to war because nobody likes touching little kids.
Yeah, it's like, wait, you fucked little kids. Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, so the analogy is pretty clear, pretty close.
So the Lincoln Project, I'm trying to remember, right? Was Lincoln Project the gay one, or was the Lincoln Project the one that was just anti-Trump?
Oh, they were just the Never-Trumpers.
Got it.
The rhinos that went after Trump.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there was any specific.
The log cabin Republicans was the.
Oh, that's I think that's the gay ones. But I mean, they weren't particularly like anti-Trump. They were just like, hey, we're gay and
No.
Matter of fact,
No,
I think they endorsed the man, if I'm not mistaken.
They are like normal people. It's just I didn't know whether it was like Lincoln or Lincoln Logs or something like that. So I don't want to make sure that I got everybody. I'm getting the right groups, not confused.
Yeah, the Lincoln Project definitely did involve logs, so you're on the right track.
So my guess is the anti-Trump organization decided to do pedo shit.
Well, not decided. It's more that the pedo organization decided to do anti-Trump shit. But 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
You know what? At the end of the day, let's find a Democrat who's not a kitty toucher.
I'm sure.
I'm sure the rank and file are fine. I'm just saying that.
That's the question now. I mean, it's just like with SJW.
Well, you gotta remember, this guy...
you gotta have to ask who isn't.
Well, the John Weaver, this fellow, he was a celebrated guy. He worked for John McCain.
Yeah.
I don't want to, shit on John McCain, because I think that he was actually a principled Republican.
And
tried.
May I just say,
I do
God
think
bless
that
that tumor and that tumor's service. I want everybody to leave an F in the comments to pay respect to that tumor.
Fair enough, but I do actually I don't have as big of a beef with McCain as a lot of other people. I didn't like the fact that he was milquetoast, and I certainly don't like the fact that if you go back to the 2008 election. The 2008 election, I honestly could not tell the difference between the Republican and the Democrat platform. Right? Obama versus McCain, there was no distinguishable difference except one took the crazy Alaskan chick. That was it.
Well, that's true. Mike isn't from Alaska.
That was that's the only difference there. But so these guys, they just happen to like little kids.
Well, come on now, Dan. Come on now, Evan. Evan, it's not Mike, it's Michael.
I'm sorry. That was disrespectful of me.
And please, former first man, Michael.
Apologies. I believe now we have an official term.
Theory.
It is first gentleman. Okay.
Right.
If we're going to be honest and we're going to be accurate, now that we've got Officer Harris hanging out in the White House vicinity, we need to use the right terminology.
Look, it's not a conspiracy that Obama himself called it Michael.
Did he really?
Yes.
And then there's Joan Rivers. But, you know.
Yeah.
Joan Rivers.
Which,
That's a different...
That's different, though, because
Joan Rivers is what surgeons can do with unlimited...
Right. With no recourse for any failure and unlimited attempts, yes.
Joan Rivers is a magical specimen of the human population.
Here's what I mean you can throw onto the picture.
And just to throw a little bit of info on this, I'll throw a link to this tweet that I've just found here. It basically gives a little bit of background on the John Weaver thing. And
yeah, I'm gonna actually have to read up on that because, like I said, I really like internet drama is my least concern. I really like financial stuff, and I really love that people found a creative way to fuck the markets. Like this is what happens when right-wing channers actually decide to do something constructive with their lives.
Yeah, this is weaponized internet.
We do need to go ahead and just drop right into this, but
you have Occupy Wall Street, and then you have 4chan.
Indeed. Well, let me just round out the Weaver topic so that we can kind of close that out and then drop into the biggest fucking thing in the whole goddamn world. Basically,
Hopefully.
This tweet here, it just says that everybody in the organization, it would have been, at best, a poorly kept secret, but honestly, probably everybody knew, and there have been complaints for at least a year on this. Just
everybody
to kind of
fucking
wrap
knew.
that. But
did they happen to like attending certain special pizza shops?
It's entirely possible. I mean, who knows? They might have been right down the road from Comet Ping Pong.
I'm just curious.
I'm just asking questions.
Are they into the pepperoni, or do they want the extra cheese?
I think they're more of a hot dog kind of crowd, you know.
So what kind of toppings came up in their WikiLeaks post, though?
Man, Julian Assange should have been left free. Trump is such a pussy for that.
Oh yeah, I am miffed about
pussy.
that one. Miffed is the mildest word I can come up with on that one. I am.
You know what? I know that they all
livid on that.
They all sit there and release their cronies, but like, come on, it would have been a fantastic. Like, I think that he was hoping that McConnell wouldn't sit there and bring up let the thing go to the Senate trial, right? I thought that was going to be the trade that I think he tried to make, and of course they're going to do it.
He should have just turned around and fucking handed him. Well,
yep.
I mean, he should have just turned around and signed it right in front of him, too.
Well, he should have done it, and then he could have then said, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I will not be able to run in 4 years because Mitch McConnell has made a deal saying that if I don't free Assange, this is what happens to me, and I think it's more important to free Assange. And that would just, end the Senate hearing.
Yeah.
But never mind the unconstitutionality of the whole thing.
Right.
Well, it's unprecedented. It's not unconstitutional.
Well, it literally
the problem
is unconstitutional, but
it kind of is.
Well, I think it's ambiguous at this point.
At this point, yeah, because they're continuing with it. But I mean, you can only impeach a sitting officer.
Right. Well, no, but he's been impeached. The trial is the issue.
Fair.
He was impeached.
You can only enact the impeachment, I guess I should say, on a sitting individual. You can't enact the punishment on a thing that doesn't exist.
That's the thing is, I think that part is just, I think that's the gray area that hasn't had to be, walked through before.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, right, the thing is that they once again did an impeachment and they have no evidence. Right? So
it's hilarious.
So it's supposed to be high crimes and, misdemeanors or whatever.
Right. It's the same way they want to use 25th on them, but it has no bearing.
They basically just turned around and said he said things that we don't like and people acted in a completely unrelated manner.
He was mean to me. Yeah, okay.
And they also started acting 20 minutes before he finished speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got the whole, pipe bombs at the RNC and DNC.
There's also the months of preparation. Not 6 months, the months of preparation, as far back as fucking November.
Right.
Well, we'll ignore that, right?
Yeah, the FBI fucking showed that the pipe bombs were laid the night before. No questions on that one. It was incited the day of, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, get fucked.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got a little off track there, so getting back to it, you were just talking about something interesting that's recently come up there. Something involving stonks, if I'm not mistaken, and some unhappy
So I
people.
think that this show is a perfect forum to really do a deep dive into this shit, because the people who have been covering this have done nothing but, like, surface level, oh my god, this is kind of what happened. And we'll cover that, right? So the surface level is this dude named Deep Fucking Value. That's his Reddit name. Because that's amazing, right? He basically threw $50,000 plus at GameStop sometime starting in, like, June, July. And he did it based on the fundamentals associated with GameStop. He did it knowing that consoles were coming out, and that tends to cause shares to rise. And so that's what he did. So he kept on throwing.
He had non-market reasons.
And to clarify, I had heard about this back at the end of December, that you need to get in on GameStop, and I just kind of set it to the side. I mean,
nobody just did anything, right?
The numbers are there. I mean, it's a company that's going to go. It's like, investing in Apple. They're going to have their down days. They're going to have their up days. But it's going to make money.
We talked a little bit about this, I think, before all the shitstorm kicked off. The short of it is stocks represent actual value, or at least that's what it's supposed to do, right? The problem is that when Deep Fucking Value put his $50,000 into this thing, he did it on the basis that it was undervalued. Essentially, he did the numbers, he calculated everything, it came to a specific price per unit share, and there's actually a way...
$4 then, and he was thinking it was supposed to be valued around 10, right?
I think it was like somewhere between 8 and 12, or he bought it at 8 and he thought it was supposed to be at 12.
Okay.
So in any case, he lets his money ride, and for whatever reason, it's not going up. And, the game consoles come out, the game releases come out, they do they do all this great stuff, and they start releasing their quarterly earnings, and it's still not going up. So he's like, oh, well, what the fuck, right? I just spent $50,000 on this thing. Am I somehow out a shitload of money because I made a terrible mistake? Those are the kind of things that you want to know, right?
Sure.
So he dug in, and what he found was that it was leveraged, or it was short of like 140% of the total shares.
So everybody keeps rounding it up, and if you want to be specific, it's 138%. But yeah, 140%.
Whatever. 140%. And what that means to our beautiful, wonderful listeners is that there are more people who owe shares of the stock than actually physically exist. Now, people want to know how this happens. It's actually pretty easy, right? Especially with platforms like Robinhood, which we'll get into. Essentially, I decide that a stock should be worth less money than it is, right? And for whatever reason, I have that evaluation. Well, I want to sit there and bet on that value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Craig, and I'm going to say, hey, Craig, let me borrow 10 of your shares of this stock, and I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to take the profit. And then it goes down because I expected it to go down. And assuming that I've done my due diligence, I then buy back those 10 shares and give them back to Craig and say, hey, Craig, here's your shares back, right? I make money. Craig holds the same number of stock.
I get interest on it is what happens at the end.
You do.
If I lend it out, then I get an interest percentage.
I'm getting to that.
Over time. Yeah.
I'm getting to that. But, so what ends up happening is in order to get above 100%, and this is actually pretty easy to do, let's say I turn around and I go to Craig and I say, Craig, I'm going to sell your 10 shares. I'm going to give you interest for those 10 shares, and I sell those shares. Well, then I go back and I say, Craig, it looks like you bought some of those shares that I just sold, because that can actually happen, right? And I'm going to take those 10 shares that you just bought back from me at this price, and I'm going to sell them again. And so all of a sudden, you can actually, just by selling to multiple, or selling the shares other people have, and then selling the sales of those shares. It did.
People are wondering, this is one of the main reasons behind the 2008 crash.
Mm-hmm.
So this literally was supposed to have been regulated out of being a thing again. And this is not due to regulations that were removed in the last 4 years. This is just because they could.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing technically stopping them from doing it. But in any case, and the reason that people short stock is not just because they think it's going down. There's actually a whole entire web of nastiness that goes on with shorting stocks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a big firm and you have the money to short stocks, us little guys, we're not allowed to short stocks because reasons, right? We don't have the same options even in things.
Well, that
like
has actually been regulated out of being a thing because. Yeah. Apparently the plebs are too stupid to do it, but the big boys are allowed.
Right. But if you have $1 billion, let's say, that you throw at a stock to short it, right, and that's the capital that you're leveraging, well, you have a little bit of money to pay a few people to start writing articles about how terrible that stock was and try to get circulation. And I'm actually going to give you guys a real example of a company that I interviewed for that I had to ask them about their stock price because it was so abominably bad. And that was Plug Power. So I'm a nuclear guy, but the second thing that I like is hydrogen and fuel cells. And there was a company that does hydrogen and fuel cells. Their market is specifically the automated robots and forklifts and stuff like that in Amazon and Walmart. So that's what Plug Power does. Well, at the time that I interviewed with them, which was January of 2019 or February of 2019, I can't remember which, their stock had gone from $12 a share to less than $1, or it was $2 to $1. Yeah. So the first question that my wife turned to me and said is, she said that you have to go in there and you have to ask them what's going on with their stock because all of these articles are saying that you're going to tank. So I did. And basically what they turned around and said is, they said, those fuckers are basically writing nasty articles about us that aren't true. Our business model is fine and is solid, and even if you turned around and got hired and they liquidated the company, they would still need you as an engineer because all this equipment is still going to be running, right? That's part of the contracts.
Right.
Now, if you go and you actually, I got my Weeble app here. We'll talk a little bit about other options besides Robinhood for those who want to know.
Yeah,
if I go
Vanguard, from what I understand, is a pretty reputable organization as well. But we can get into all that.
In 2019. Plug Power was under $2 a share and crashing. It is now $63 a share.
Wow. Okay. Up from 12 then.
Up from 12 and up from that 1. So what happened was, did they suddenly, was there a giant hydrogen fuel cell revolution? No, there's no fucking hydrogen fuel cell revolution. The reality was the Motley Fuel and the rest of these other groups stopped writing negative articles about them because all the hedge funds had already shorted their shares, got everybody else to buy in, to sell shares at the lower price. Then they bought them all back, and now it's sitting there and trading the way it should be.
And just as a quick by-the-by, this is how real estate numbers get fucked with, too. This kind of thing is, you watch this go down in the Twin Cities because of all the property damage that went down. A lot of that land is getting bought up by very wealthy people. Exactly the same thing is happening in New York City. All those hotels that Cuomo is so generously going to be donating to the homeless, as soon as he kicks them out of there, you better believe he's going to flip those things for fat bucks.
And to give you an idea, if you actually pull up the chart and you go all the way back to roughly January of 2019, it was right after January 31st, 2019, when the stock starts to skyrocket. Right there. There's all this volume traded, and that's what ends up happening. So they basically, they short the stock, they crash the stock, then they spend a ton of money. They spend a few $1 million hiring out however many organizations they need to write bad articles about that stock. You will then sit there and sell your stock at the lower price that they've already set, at which point they sit there and they close out their shorts with the shares that you sold them at the lower price. They pay back all their debt, and then they buy all of the shares knowing that it's going to rebound. And all of a sudden, they make a shitload of money doing that. And basically, this got called out for GameStop. The deep fucking value called them on their shit and said they are over-leveraged. And now, what's going on is the thing is that you pay interest on those loans, but anyone who has those stocks, who actually has the true rights, who has purchased the actual rights, can call in those favors at any time.
Oh, and here's another thing we should mention. A lot of times they will do this shorting on margin, which is basically borrowed money.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and this margin, by the way, has to be covered by the end of business in the stock
well, that's
market.
the thing. That's called this is what I was getting to. It's called a margin call. And if they don't have, so at a margin, when they do a margin call, they can basically force the buy. So they promise to buy the shares or return them, and they can be forced to basically they can be forced to turn around and buy all these shares or put up the collateral to cover the difference.
Right.
And they have to pay the interest at that time if they get a margin call they can't cover. And if they can't do any of that, they have to liquidate and go out of business.
So
they go bankrupt.
So what's going on right now is Deep fucking Value convinced everybody on Reddit to buy the shares at this ridiculously low price and jack the price up.
Yeah.
The end result is they're paying interest on these loans that they took out, and they always have to be paying interest on these loans. And then instead of sitting there and buying the shares at a lower value through all of the media manipulation that they've done, they're forced to buy them at, like, right now it's what, 20 times the price, 30 times the price of what the original thing is.
You know what?
So
I'll
it's
get you a spot
loss.
price right now.
Well, the stock price has got to be in the mid 300s still, and I think it started off at like 350.
I actually
like $3.50, like a year ago or whatever.
We're sitting at 313.02.
Yeah. That's
now,
just shy of
today.
100. That's shy of 100 times the value it was a year ago.
That's as of this report.
There are 8 asks for 313.25 on Arca, and the lowest bid is 312. So it's between 312 and 313 and a quarter.
Right.
So the bottom line is that this forces a thing where you squeeze out the shorts. So the shorts try to cover their positions. And when they start buying this stock that's already at the upper level value, it forces that stock to go higher than its actual value. And this is actually what's known as a short squeeze. It's a real legitimate financial vesting scenario thing.
And here's the thing: it can cause an avalanche effect because as you increase the purchasing demand in the market, the people who have the lower price on the selling side of it get bought out, and the price goes up. And as they need to cover these positions, if they try and double down on it, which is what they tried to do, that's worse for them. Because the longer they wait and the more people that hold, the higher the price goes because they're the ones under the pressure to buy.
Mm-hmm. So what people are doing right now is they are hoping that these firms have to liquidate and they have to go there. Now, they've already taken one. Melvin Capital has had to shell out, what?
$14.1 billion had to leave them, and the overall hedging is down by what, over $90 billion now?
I'm not sure. I can't find.
70.
I'm going to be very clear. We are so I see this every single time somebody does it, so I'm assuming it's a legal thing. We aren't financial advisors, right? So let's throw out. I'm assuming there's a legal aspect to this.
Well, it's the same way you say I'm not a lawyer giving legal advice, I'm not a doctor giving medical advice. We aren't stock traders. Well, for stock traders, we're retail buyers at best, retail traders at best. None of us here are like
we are
CPA
not financial advisors.
Yeah. None of that's going on.
Sure.
We just like the stocks, blah blah blah. Right?
Yeah.
We're not stock
in
brokers,
any case,
we're stock talkers.
In any case, what we're looking at here is they identified a whole bunch of other stocks that are very similar to this. Now, here's where it gets really weird. All of a sudden, the veil that covers the stock market as this, basically the stock market's largely a casino. They hope that dumb money comes in, the house will take it, and then everybody walks away in the financial sector, patting themselves on the back.
The funny thing is, in this way, it's no different from crypto, except that there's all this regulation layered on top of it to make it more annoying.
Well, it's not just more annoying. It actually makes it very difficult for you as the little guy to succeed.
And that's part of regulatory capture, which is a thing all by itself to talk about. But it's the point here being that it is a heavily regulated casino. But when you're talking about anything besides a stock itself, talk about any derivative packaging of it, like a stock option, a stock future, or commodity futures. You talk about indices or securities, or just derivative markets where they repackage securities as derivatives. all of this stuff layered on top is all a bubble. It's all completely artificially layered on top of the base stock value, and it's entirely a gamble. It's entirely betting on something, and it's not just based on the health of the company. If you're shorting a stock, it's because you expect the stock price to go down, not because you expect the company to do poorly. While it should be that you expect the company to do poorly for the price to go down, that's not the only reason the price is going to move. If you short the company and you're a massive entity doing it, you can easily manipulate the price to the point where you sucker people to come in and buy the price or buy the stock before it falls in price and get them to sell stock back to you at a low price.
And the same thing happens when you buy up a stock. If you buy enough shares in it, you cause the value to go up. So people will sit there and see the spike, they'll chase the spike, they'll buy into the spike, and then you'll sell off.
Yeah, they get caught into the bull trap at the other end.
Excuse me. Just to also add some context and flavor to this, what a hedge fund is, much like hedging your bets. You know, you go up to the roulette table and you bet black and you bet white, say. That's kind of what you're doing with a hedge fund. What they're doing with these shorts and everything, they're basically trying to make sure that there is always money coming in and never going out.
And to be very clear, right, you can actually turn around, and I've developed a couple math formulas. You can prove that if you had enough money and you distributed it appropriately across what you're doing, and you distribute it roughly evenly, you will always make money. It won't be as much money as if you happen to win, but you can't technically lose money. If you bet on something and you bet on both sides, you bet that, because it's all, a lot of people sit there and think about the actual individual digits, and that has to do with the reporting. Everybody talks about the Dow Jones and the number of points that it gains. Right. Bullshit. Everything is percentages, right? So the amount that I gain versus the amount that I lose, if I bet on one stock to go up, and I bet on that same stock to go down, and the stock doubled in price, and I spent $100 on the fact that it would win, and $100 on the fact that it would lose, it will go up 100%, so I would get $200 on one side, and it'll go down by half is my other risk. Now all of a sudden I walk away with $250 instead of $200. No matter what, if you have enough money, you can't lose at this game. But everybody else who doesn't have that same level of cash can. And not to mention the fact that you get to a certain level of funding, and you can basically make those numbers do whatever you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing on that.
For you.
And that is direct manipulation is the point at the end, I think. And if so they ever come to you and they say that you're manipulating a stock market, two things. One, you're a retail investor, which is likely if you're listening to this show. You're probably, I don't think anybody here is going to be involved in a hedge fund or a corporate fund doing this kind of stuff. So you're probably a retail investor.
And if you're that one person who might be listening, and you know who you are, you're not doing this anyway, so it doesn't matter and doesn't apply to you.
Well, it does matter, though. It does, because you should know how the game is played.
I mean the one like angel investor.
What I was saying.
That might be listening.
What I was saying, not what you were saying, Steve.
Got it. Yeah. So
if they say manipulation, it's not manipulation on your part as a retail investor. That is the whole projection thing that, and you can say it typically comes out of the left. It's more like it comes out of the people who are doing the wrong thing here.
Right.
It's not a right-left thing with this. It's definitely something where the people who already have it good are trying to protect their racket. And that's fine and all.
Yeah, it is a right and left thing.
You can't fault them on trying to protect their racket, but at the same time, you can't point out that they're being hypocrites. They're pointing at the people who are doing everything right and saying, you're fucking up the market for everyone else. It's like, if you're a casino dick.
At the end of the day, right, so what ended up happening is we gathered enough people, and they basically focused their effort, and they focused their energy on this one stock. It is true that the majority of people who are in on GameStop are probably going to lose money. Right, that's a true statement.
Probably, yeah. Because eventually, here's the thing, at the other side of the thing, at the other side of this, say that they defeat the hedge funds and now everybody has a stock. As soon as they start trying to sell it, who the fuck's going to buy it?
Right.
They have not thought that part through yet, though a lot of them are only in for like $10 to $100 and they don't care.
Well, and the other thing too, a lot of these people, well, $200-$300, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, isn't a lot of money. $200 to $300 amongst like some of the last projections I heard is something like there were 7 million subscribers to Wall Street Bets. So,
Right.
you know, $200 to $300 for 7 million people, that's a horrifyingly large amount of money.
Well, and that's really what's ended up happening. So the question ultimately that lies going forward is, have the shorts been squeezed? And ultimately, all of the data that used to be available for short squeezes is no longer reliable. So, for instance, you used to be able to go to shortsqueeze.com and pull up an individual stock and find out what the short interest ratio is. And the short interest ratio is basically the percent of the shares of stock that are short and the number of days required to cover that stock. So, if you went to shortsqueeze.com, and you looked up GameStop, it used to say 2.5 days. It still says 2.5 days, but it doesn't tell you what the short interest ratio is anymore. So this is kind of one of the problems that basically, so they used to sell the stock market as if it's this great and amazing, like,
Power to the people.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, power to the people thing. You have the option, you know, every single time you watch any trading video, it's some dude on a fucking beach with their laptop, right? Every single one of these things is basically selling it to you as you can get rich too in the stock market. And that's true. You can. The only problem is that the deck is stacked overwhelmingly against you. So what they have is they used to turn around and they'd provide all these tools and you could try to make
say, buy my book.
Or buy my book, right? Because that's an easier way for them. That's a more guaranteed way for them to make money than for them to put their millions of dollars on the line, right? So this
buy
is
my
the problem.
book, buy my stock.
This is the problem that we have, and going back to the Motley Fool, they do the same thing, right? They'd get 10 million people subscribed to them, and then they'd send out a mailer of 10 stocks that they were choosing this week, right? And if those 10 million people all threw a couple bucks at that stock, well, they already picked it before they wrote the freaking thing, right? They've already put in 1,000 shares at that thing, and if 10 million people if only 10% of them buy one share apiece, they've already made their money back and they can liquidate. And that's why you see these things, these ads like the Motley Fool, and I pick on them extensively because like I said, Plug Power was getting ripped apart over them. The Motley Fool will sit there and come in and they'll say, if you had bought this when we told you to buy this, you would be up this many percentage points. Well, that's
true.
Try
to sell it.
But when you pause to think that they put out 10 stock recommendations every day, right, and that there are 250 trading days in a year, and all of a sudden you're at 25, every single year they make 2,500 stock recommendations. I'm sure over the past 10 years, there's 1 in 25,000 stocks, or 2 in 25,000 stocks that they recommended that you could sit there and say you'd be up this much percentage.
Oh, well, yeah.
Right? So that's how these things work.
If only you bet these lottery numbers, you'd be a multimillionaire right now.
Right, exactly. Because they put out a ton of stuff. But what's ended up happening in the past week is they have exposed that it is casino, that it is not a dude on a beach with a fucking laptop.
Oh, it's not even a casino. This is like old school mafia casinos, like back in the day Vegas. This isn't even like regular Vegas.
They've got the racket under their control. They can come in and break your legs.
I would say very firmly that it's probably like a modern casino where the house wins on a percentage every single time.
You know, the modern casinos, they don't have the federal fucking government able to come in and investigate you if you win big.
That is true.
They could tell you to leave and then
they
never
bar
come
you
back
from coming in, but they still can't call the feds to come and break your legs like they're doing now.
But in any case,
from Warren coming in and saying we need to investigate the people who are doing this.
Yeah, we need to investigate this literal outsider trading.
I love the fact that it's been exposed. I never expected, like, I kind of know how the system works. Right. And I kind of know that it's, like, skeezy, and I kind of know what you're supposed to do. So when I say I'm not I have never successful trading stocks. I swear to God, every time I buy something, the second that I buy it, it goes down. Like, the second. It doesn't matter. It could be trading flat. It could be trading flat. It could be trading flat for 4 hours in a day. I buy it, and it plummets.
Yeah. So what you should be doing is sending out a letter.
You're the kind of person that has a large Beanie Baby collection, is what you're saying.
I would be that kind of person if I was a girl.
Fair enough. Okay.
Or a grandparent.
Yeah, or a grandparent. But I mean, it is truly like it is astounding to me because it's like, all right, like it's not even. Sometimes it's because I was drunk and stupid, right? That's an absolute thing that happens. But other times it's like, okay, well, you know what? Based on the ranges here, I'm probably going to do fine. You buy it, and then 3 seconds later, you're like, wait, what? Why did it just drop 10%? What the fuck? Where did my money go?
It's because Steve's here.
But I also understand kind of how it works. And I've always kind of known these things happen. Everybody kind of knows these things happen, but it's never been so naked and exposed as it was when all of a sudden Robinhood shuts off trading unless you're willing to help with capital investments.
And it wasn't just Robinhood. It wasn't just Robinhood, although Robinhood was more egregious because there's this. Now, most of them aren't confirmed here, but I think a couple of them are now. I think so. Huge trains at Mountain Assault with this one. Robinhood's selling people stocks for them, and not just doing the close out or reduced position only, but like actively fucking trading for them.
Oh, not only that, too. Some of their terms of service have come out, too, where they can do all kinds of things, and you not only have to contact them by email, their terms of service are very specific in that you have to send a certified letter in addition to an email saying, I don't want you doing this.
Now I want to be clear. Robinhood did something amazing, right?
Oh,
they really did.
Off.
4 years ago. 4 years ago,
well,
you used to have to pay $8 per trade. It was like they changed the entire market because of what they chose to do.
Now, what they did, the way they did that was by selling you. By the way, the product of Robinhood is not stocks. It's your trade.
It is your trade. And this is actually something that Craig was bitching about earlier this weekend. But you got to understand, when you buy and sell stock on Robinhood, you're not actually buying and selling to the market, right? You place an order, and they let you kind of know that maybe you have something, but then they sit there and they contact their buddies over in Capital Investments.
Yeah, this was always very clear, all right?
Your motherfucker, he wants to buy this stock at this price. Well, it's really, 3-4 cents less than that. So then Capital Investment Group has an automatic algorithm that says, okay, we're going to buy it at this price, and then we're going to sell it to him at that price. And no matter what you do, you are always paying a premium when you go out through Robinhood. And this is if you really want to see where this happens, what Craig was commenting on over the weekend was Craig commented that it was one of the longest delay crypto transactions that he has. Well, that's because Robinhood Crypto operates through fucking Coinbase, who is also a sleazy as shit organization.
But you see, that's the thing is they do it through. So Coinbase was having no issues, and by the way, Doggy's not on Coinbase, so you're fucking wrong there.
I'm pretty sure they operate through Coinbase, or at least most of them.
Doggy is not on Coinbase. So I mean, it could be any other exchange. Fine. The thing is, here's the issue. Here's the main issue here. Every other exchange, all of them that have Doggy on them, all have the trade volume, have the volume of coin present, have the number of people available to make all these trades happen more or less instantaneously.
Yes, they do.
The main problem that exists is that it was something inside their infrastructure that was not able to handle all of the volume going through it. It was definitely a scale-up issue internally.
And that's the thing. If I remember correctly from Robinhood Crypto, I'd have to look at this more in depth. Robinhood trades internally within its own pool before trying to make a match outside its own pool. So Robinhood, when you buy and sell on Robinhood, you're not even buying Doggy, right? Like, you want to go buy Doggy, you're not. If you put in an order to buy Doggy on Robinhood, you are not actually owning any Doggy. You're owning a share of Robinhood's Doggy, right?
Sure. And that's all fine, but like that's still a major scaling issue internally. If they aren't able to execute a fucking trade,
I've seen this with all of Robinhood Crypto, and this is even off peak times.
Sure,
right? So
I understand it.
I believe very firmly that what ends up happening is they try to make a match internally. If they can't make a match internally, they go external, and in that period of time, they just don't have a direct match, and they don't have reserve in the pool, and they don't have the buffer capacity so that you can buy and sell into the pool.
Sure, that's all fine and good. It's just that they still, this shit is supposed to happen more or less instantly.
Absolutely.
Because and if you're talking about that as a buffer issue, that adds what, a millisecond?
No, it doesn't,
or it's
though,
supposed
right?
to.
So don't forget, you're going to have your 10, 20 seconds lag time between when you send the order and their server receive it.
20 seconds, not an hour.
Then it's got to go sit there and search internally on their own server to find it. It's got to reach back out and see if your order is still present, if they can't find a match internally in their server. And then once that's confirmed, it goes out to the market and sits there and finds it. It's going to be a few seconds by the time your order goes through. It's unacceptable. I totally agree with you. It's unacceptable.
No, a few seconds, fine. A few seconds I can live with. A few seconds is perfectly fine. You know what's not acceptable? More than a fucking hour.
You had an hour?
Over a fucking hour.
That's pretty funny.
Over a fucking hour before it, and I just say, okay. And the worst thing is I put it through. I couldn't even cancel the fucking order. I was like, okay, so I'm just supposed to sit here without any ability to do any kind of trading position. Like it clearly it wasn't an issue of executing.
Well, then
it wasn't an issue of the blockchain. It wasn't an issue with the blockchain because it was clearly longer than the 10-minute interval. Like even an hour is absurd. Even if you put in like a pittance on the fucking transaction fee, a fucking hour is absurd. They clearly were not. They clearly had some sort of internal fuck up due to the scaling and the massive increase in demand for trades in that particular part of their platform. And the fact they couldn't resolve that.
I apologize. I didn't realize you were having an hour delay.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't exaggerating when I said that before. If you thought I was being
my assumption is that you were being hyperbolic.
Yeah, I was literally over an hour.
You can understand why I would make that assumption.
Absolutely, and I'm fine with that. That's why I wasn't like getting upset or anything. I was like, okay, he's not getting it. It was literally over a fucking hour. I was sitting there looking at my watch like, what the fuck is wrong with the service?
So what time did you get into Doge? Or what price did you buy in at?
I dabbled, like, I did my in and out thing where I just waited for them to fuck up, and then I was like, oh, they're doing good again, hop in.
And just to clarify on that one, it's not really the same kind of situation there. That one seems
not
to
at
be
all.
A short-term thing.
It was a distraction. It was a distraction, and it worked.
Yes.
And so it was a classic pump and dump. There's no such thing, by the way, if you're seeing all these poor naive people coming in. There's no such thing as shorting a cryptocurrency.
No,
you can't.
No, there isn't.
You can't now. There's mechanisms that are available in certain smart contracts to do it, but every single fucking one of those is just another pump and dump.
Well, and that's the thing. Like
you're gonna have stuck with like wrapped Bitcoin that are worth nothing, but like not the actual wrapped Bitcoin, but someone else's alt that pretends to be.
I picked it up at 29. I sold it at 71. I was very, very happy with that.
It was in that range. I think I came in at when it just cracked one. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I got in at 1.5 cents. I hopped out again just as it hit 3 cents. Waited for it to hop back down to just over 2 cents. Got out again when it went up to 5. Got in again when I was like, oh, it's rising again. But I missed out on the bottom of the dip. Hopped back in at like 6.5. Got out at just shy of 8. You know, I went ahead and I did a couple of my little ladder jumps in there, but at the end of it,
I'm assuming that you had a few losses in there too.
I ended up losing $5 at the end out of the 15 that I made.
Got it.
Well, it wasn't even that. So I got part of that 15 I have roughly is in the free stock that they gave me. It was worth like $3.60. So I put in 50 total of my own, and I'm gonna pull out at like just I think around 65, just under 65.
Yeah, I pulled my money out of Robinhood. Now I
have to wait for the money to arrive there because they give you that instantaneous shit. So it's like, okay, fine, can I cancel that now that I'm gonna be done? And it's like, no, you have to wait for it to get there. So as soon as it actually shows up, I'm fucking leaving.
See, so, and this is, I have wanted to leave Robinhood for a long time. It's really tough because you don't really there's this moving money around is a really time-intensive process. So if there's something you actually are interested in, then you gotta wait like 6 days by the time it goes from Robinhood to your bank, and then, so I haven't left them previously until they pulled their shenanigans. And let's be entirely honest, the whole entire thing where they sat there and they said the only thing you can do is sell stock, you're not allowed to buy it, that's shenanigans. right?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with their fiduciary responsibility to the SEC.
Not, like, I am okay with them sitting there and pausing trading on these things. That makes complete sense. I've seen people get pissed off at a lot of these other companies, but these other companies sat there and they said, okay, we're just not going to allow trading on it. Robinhood said,
bullshit.
you can't buy it, but you can sell it. And oh, by the way, all of those sales go directly to the individual.
Let's clarify that too for people that don't really understand what you're saying here. So what happened with Robinhood? They've since fixed it to a degree, but they're still limited, from my understanding. What they did
it's all
is
still whole shares. Is what the problem is right now. It's all still whole shares.
Yeah,
you can't do fractional.
Yeah, and what they did is they limited. I'm not sure where it is today, but as of yesterday, you were limited to 5 purchases of.
No, it's not even that. It's that you were limited. So I saw this one. This one seemed legit to me. Somebody tried to purchase 5 shares under the understanding that that was what they were supposed to be allowed to get. Because they had 5 and change shares, I guess they had some fractional from prior.
Yep.
Because they had over 5 shares total, they were told on the screen, it's from a screenshot, you can't have more than 5 shares.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. They were allowing a maximum of 5 shares to be purchased. Not to say that if you have shares, you can buy 5 more. No, you can buy 5 if you had 0. Up to.
Yeah. Yes.
They capped the total of shares you can hold, so they had limited positions.
And just as a quick reminder, too, from just December 17th per the SEC, Robinhood was fined $65 million for misleading its users. And I dropped a link to that in the chat.
Dude, I hope this class, you know what? Fuck it. Like, if it's going to be a class action, etc., I may as well leave the $65 in, because at the end of the day, if I end up losing that, it's not that. I mean, it's fucking money, but like, it's not that much money.
There's already 2 cases that have been placed on Robinhood.
Yeah,
and I
so
believe
if the class action goes through, and I have to have, if I'm required to hold standing, like if I have to have money in the market still, so to speak, in order to have standing, fuck it, I'll let it ride as cash. You know, that way it's at least not depreciating in value unless they fold. But then they still owe me the money because it's still in my name, you know, unless the terms change.
And just as a real short on what this last one was, between 2015 and 18, Robinhood didn't properly tell its users the best price on stock purchases.
No. They didn't tell them how they made money. So Robinhood used to make the argument that they didn't have to charge their users for stocks because they would be basically playing arbitrage games, essentially. Right? So the idea was that, and this is actually perfectly legit, right? So ETFs, a lot of ETFs do this, where they'll bundle a whole bunch of stocks together, and then the underlying asset will be balanced. The price that they're paying for the ETF is greater than the price of the underlying asset, so they can sit there and shift the ETF balance around so that it all balances out. And this allows people to make money whether, you know, one individual asset's rising or falling or whatever. They can balance this between the two markets. And that was what Robinhood argued that it was doing for years, was essentially sitting there and balancing the books. What it didn't tell people was that which is what I talked about earlier, they got paid for order flow, which is if 1,000 people want to buy this, you know, want to buy 1,000 shares of this stock, 1 million shares of stock XYZ, right? And all of a sudden they want to buy it for whatever reason. This gets communicated to an investment group, and that investment group will buy those shares, then sell it to Robinhood people at a markup. Essentially, is really what it comes down to.
What happens is they basically they're paying for the they're paying to be able to execute the transactions on Robinhood's behalf. And the reason why they pay Robinhood is because they get the data from Robinhood about the user market, like what the retailers are doing.
They get the data from Robinhood, and they also get to sit there and cut in front of everybody when they're buying an order. Right. So if I turn around, right, and I know, again, 1 million shares are coming in for my retail guys, right, 1 million shares are coming in, I can turn around and I can buy all 1 million shares for 1 cent less than what I'm going to charge them. And that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. To those million shares, it's not a huge deal. But to you, as an investment firm, you just made, $10,000. And that's just in 1 second of one day. Right? It is tremendous amounts of money that they are making just by shaving that time between orders announced on the platform.
And the thing is, to the user, it's transparent because you either make a market buy, or if you set a limit, then they still get to put in their limit at a different price.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. And so
what they're not stealing money from the user, and they're not. This is not something that Robinhood is going to be privy to. By the way, all that happens is Robinhood gets a kickback on it because they've sold them the data and allowed them to make the trade.
Right, and the financial again, and I think that's the really important point is it's transparent to the user. Right. You will have, if you do a market buy, you won't know what the actual price stock was that you got and you got to hold.
It'll tell you the average.
Idea.
They tell you the average price.
It'll show you your price, but you won't know at the time that they received the order what the price of the stock was and what you could have gotten it for. You have no idea whether they sat there and charged you an extra 1 cent or an extra 10 cents.
Now, this is technically also true of the limit buys, but at least you have some inkling of what you're specifically requesting if you do it that way.
Well, but even then, right, with the limit buys, you don't know when the order is going to come in.
Oh yeah, right? That's the whole point.
So you still get transparency. So if the limit price goes from 10 cents to 8 cents or whatever, right, they're able to sit there and buy it at the lower price before you're actually getting credit for the shares. And all you notice is a few milliseconds delay between the actual price being announced on the market and the time you have it.
Again, same point being made here. It's just that if you do a limit buy, at least you have an expectation of the price to you.
Yes.
With a market buy, you're at the mercy of whatever kickback rate they're getting at Robinhood.
And another piece of heartening information on this, aside from the two cases that have been put in, Ken Paxton, the AG out of Texas, has issued CIDs, civil investigative demands, to Discord, Robinhood, Interactive Brokers, TD Ameritrade, Citadel Financial.
Yeah, that was.
And
that
a
was
couple of
really
others, Apex Clearing.
No, Discord has always been a Fed trap. It's a complete piece of shit ripoff of Slack. Now that's fine because the Slack code base was available at the time and it was available for people to build off of. That was the whole point of it. The fact that Discord branded itself the way it did has always been bunk. It's not some amazing thing for gamers. You could easily get that experience off of Slack if you wanted, or just TeamSpeak.
Yeah,
they tried to be the new TeamSpeak, and it's just shit in that regard.
Well, I think I agree with that. I am looking forward to the class action suit because I actually had an order on Robinhood for GameStop that day. I canceled it before market open, but I actually placed it and that's just because I work.
I know I had that too. That's the only reason. So here's the thing. That was the only reason I was able to see a stock price because they hid all these fucking stocks.
Oh my god! Yes!
They hid all of them. The only reason I was able to have AMC and fucking GameStop in silver index was because I already had them, and they fucking got rid of them from the search, and you couldn't find them. Yep. And then I couldn't find BlackBerry. I couldn't find a fucking handful of others. Nokia. I had that already, so I was able to find that one.
I did not have any of the stock. I canceled the orders before I went in, but I was still on those pages. Right, so I still had the data coming into the phone, even though I couldn't actually search it. And then so when I actually first came in
added to a list.
See, I didn't add it to a list.
Yeah, that's the only reason I was able to go back to them too.
I originally had a purchase order. So the problem that I have, right, is that I go work at the lab, and when you go work at the lab, your phone stays in your car. Well, turns out the government's not really a big fan of having cell phones anywhere around nuclear stuff.
Yeah, and by the way, that's not just like at a nuclear facility. Anytime you got a radio lab going, you're leaving your shit outside.
Yep. Government's not a big fan because cell phone. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons for it.
Yeah, all of it's a safety issue, but a lot of it's like Just don't bring your phone in.
The majority of it is the fact that you can't control what apps people put on their phone.
Yeah.
And China is always... See, this is one of the reasons why when you do all your VPN stuff, I'm like, whatever. Right? I have enough exposure to security shit that I just assume that all my shit is exposed.
Well, some of the VPN stuff is very useful for like getting rid of geo-locking crap. You know, for instance,
maybe
if Netflix only wants me to watch something in say
yes.
New York, and I go down to Florida, and then they're not allowing it there, or like if I want to have like a friend watch something with me on Netflix and they're in England,
or if for instance you want to learn about how King Arthur was actually a black man, you can unlock the BBC.
No, I actually had, both of you guys know who Nora is. I actually had her, she actually ended up watching a movie with me and another guy. We did a Discord call, or it was on Skype. Anyway, we used a plug-in on Chrome that would sync up our Netflix, and she had the VPN in order to be able to watch shit on our end.
And I do agree with that for that purposes, but
yeah,
I mean, ultimately...
That's a real purpose for you right there.
For me, when it comes to like security, like once you get to a certain point, you just sit there and drink your beer because there's nothing you can do. You are compromised, and you should assume you're compromised.
Yeah, if you have a clearance, there's a reason you got the clearance. Part of that reason is you agreed to have the probe up your ass.
That is very true. All right, let me tell you, every 4 or 5 years, they sit down and they start talking to you, and you're like, oh, I am a terrible person. I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, imagine you're going to be able to get a fun conversation out of just being on this podcast.
Probably not. Probably not, because I don't say anything even remotely close to. I
be careful about that, which I appreciate.
It's not just being careful. I actively, and I extend that courtesy even while I'm at work. If somebody says, "Hey, here's this classified document for you to review," I'm like, "Nope, no, thank you." You can send that to literally anyone else. I don't want to know about it. I want nothing other than unclassified information because it's a pain in the ass. I have zero desire to touch it. I have zero desire to look at it.
The problem is when you touch it, it comes off on you.
It does. It follows you forever.
Because your access is located on that, and they get to come back and say, "Hey, you once looked at this thing. Have you ever talked about it since?" Like,
yeah. So I remember doing a deep dive into a basket full of paper because they classified something after the fact.
No.
Oh.
So I had 6 months of documents.
Yeah. By the way, that's the thing.
Thrown
people.
into a bin.
That's one of the reasons why Hillary Clinton was in trouble. By the way, wasn't that it was classified at the time for some.
Yeah.
For the stuff that she was called in for to the committee, not what actually happened.
If she had not gone and turned around and talked about how it was yoga shit and just said that they classify things after the fact and she didn't think it was that big of a deal, I would have been okay with giving Hillary Clinton a pass. It makes me vomit in the back of my throat, but I would have been okay with it.
She would have been technically. She would have been right in the best way, which is technically.
Yes, she would have been.
But she wasn't.
I can't fault her for that because I understand what it's like to have somebody go, "Oh yeah, that document that you peer reviewed 6 months ago. Can you make sure that you burn it?"
And you go, fuck.
I don't know.
Yeah. Can you be sure that I found it?
Yeah. So I've only had to deal with it once.
Yeah,
and I am very happy with never repeating that experience.
Yeah.
Like they turn around and like, "Hey, you want to do some lab shit?" I'm like, "Nope." I am happy to sit there and work with drywall. Drywall is a very good subject for me. It's very, very boring. China does not want to hear about drywall.
Dry.
It is a dry.
No, you gotta understand. There's some very important classified features to drywall. You are now responsible for.
That's exactly right. Yeah. No.
And I have another piece of good news related to this too. Janet Yellen, you've probably heard the name. Well, she unfortunately will be legally barred by her ethics agreement from participating in any matter involving Citadel because they make millions off of Robinhood until at least October of this year, which is 1 year after her last paid speech to Citadel.
Wasn't she the one who was like responsible for the IRS targeting scandal?
Yeah, wasn't she just
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of her fingerprints all over that fucking thing.
I distinctly remember her being one of the reasons why I believe that Democrats are magnetic pussies, or pussy magnets. Pussy magnets, yes. Because she all of a sudden her hard drive failed like 2 days before the congressional subpoena actually became active.
Yep.
Amazing!
Surprise, man. It's like, oh no, I fucked up the hardware again. How did this hammer show up in my apartment?
It's, and I mean, like, this is kind of the thing too, because, none of this stuff, these are all like thin clients, none of this stuff is kept on a hard drive, so for her hard drive to be busted and that to be the reason they can't recoup any documents is bullshit.
Yeah. She's peak cancer. She's she's Dianne Feinstein in the 90s terrible.
Yep. But you know what? I am so glad that they're actually going to pin her on that.
Well,
I really want to know.
They've followed their own rules, huh?
I really want to know whether it was legitimately the White House calling Robin Hood and telling them they have to do their shit.
As a matter of fact, that's we don't know about that, but I will read the post. I've actually got it right in front of me. It's from supposedly an anonymous Robin Hood insider. I'll just read this direct. Robin Hood insider information. I work for Robin Hood. Don't kill me. Low-level technical shit. Comp science major, not financial side. Guess what we overheard today? Vladimir, yes, founder Vladimir, and the C-suite received calls from Sequoia Capital and the White House that pressured into trading on GME, etc. I guarantee you the same took place at E-Trade and the others who closed trading. Which, by the way, that cutting out from that, it wasn't just Robinhood. A lot of people completely acted.
That's why I was balking when you said Weeble earlier. Because I was like, they did that too.
Well, basically everybody did, but others came out of that freeze a little faster than others. But anyway, to finish this out.
Well, it's not just that. Like, there's some legitimate reasons to be concerned.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, it's a matter of there being the right amount of market capital to actually cover these trades and everything, too.
Right, and the SEC is a nasty spider, right? If you piss them off, they can shut you down.
Yeah.
Right? So
but not every retailer.
No, well, I mean, if you turn around, if you turn around and you say, hey, the SEC is coming after me, and I got to sit there and possibly pause these trades while I find out the legality, I would buy that. I'm okay with that. If you turn around and say, I got to shut this down, but you're allowed to sell.
Speaking of the SEC, as a matter of fact, let me finish out this post because it mentions that specifically. The last part of this post, it says, file reports on the SEC page.
Yeah.
If I wasn't scared to be out of work in a pandemic, I'd quit. I'm disgusted. We all need to rise up. This is as bad as it gets when we talk about how the rich get one set of rules and the rest of it gets screwed over and over and over again, left to bail them out and pick up the tab for their trillion-dollar tax breaks. Which, yes, that is a thing. These people got huge bailouts. But anyway, I'm getting off the point. We need to pile pressure on every government and financial institution involved in this travesty of justice. I'm taking a massive career risk even posting here, but fuck these motherfuckers. And, I can appreciate the sentiment.
Right.
Quite honestly.
That's it, man. That's it.
Well, and I know that we kind of like dove off Robin Hood for a bit, but like I'm actually okay with the fact that like I'm being forced to move off of them because they're a terrible platform. Like, you do not have the standard safety net that would be available to any other broker, and that's things like stop-loss orders. You can't turn around and say, okay, this is...
Once I get fucked this hard, pull the dildo out. No, they don't do that.
No, they don't do that. And you can't... This is a normal thing that you are normally supposed to have. And not just that, you're supposed to be able to say set my take profit and my stop-loss. So I should be able to, on any trade that I make, say I want, like Craig said, pull the dildo out at this point.
I've lost this much money, just sell the fucking thing.
But
I should be able to
call my mom, I'm done. Yeah,
and
they don't do that.
That's supposed to be a point that's available. They do have a stop loss order, but if you exercise your stop loss order, then you aren't allowed to exercise a take profit order. So you either can sell it, and you can't even sell. So you have to actually cancel your stop loss in order to sell the stock. So literally, you are allowed to sell, or you're either allowed to sell when you want to sell, or you're allowed to sell at a risk-limiting loss. Those are the only options that you have. So you have to physically be attending the platform if you want to make any sort of smart trades.
Gamifying. So that is the kind of shit. Okay, so the poor analogy to this is something else that's pissing me off with Amazon right now, but they're dripping out the episodes of The Expanse every week instead of just giving me the whole fucking season that's already all done. Same kind of thing. I have to physically fucking attend the website every week to get the next episode. The same way, if you aren't watching the stock, you aren't able to take advantage of that stop loss and get yourself out.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. So I've actually, and I know that this is probably something that our listeners should be aware of, is other trading platforms. I mentioned Webull. I really am starting to like Webull, and the more and more I look into it, the more and more I like it. Right? Mm-hmm. So Webull actually has a desktop companion app that looks like...
Oh, fuck me, that would be much better than what I have right now with this shit.
So Webull actually has, like... Are you familiar with TradingView? Any of you guys familiar with TradingView?
Not me.
Well, it's like an app?
No, TradingView is a website, right? Okay. So it's like the premier financial screening tool. Right. It's completely free. It's amazing. Webull looks like it basically built that into its desktop app.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Oh,
you can do full stock screenings. You can do full charts. You can sit there and build things.
So so people might be more familiar with TD Ameritrade. Do they have anything like their app?
Thinkorswim. It's actually better than Thinkorswim. So I have Thinkorswim. Okay. Those are the two that I have. Most of my money ended up going to Thinkorswim. The fun, hey, haha, I got dicked around by cryptocurrency shit is going to go to Webull, right? So $200 some odd are going to go to Webull, and then the $2,400 that I have for fuck around rest of my investment money is going to TD Ameritrade, and that's because Thinkorswim is pretty amazing. It is clunky though.
Just the ability to do things like visualize an iron condor more easily,
Yeah. Yeah,
like shit like that. You can't really beat having that kind of visual cueing.
Well, news, TD Ameritrade does news and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But if you go through the Webull desktop app, I mean, and even the actual Webull app, you can start putting in your technical indicators and all the other stuff that you normally like to use. Right, so you can do stuff like your RSI, which for people who don't know what RSI is, it basically tells you it is a statistical measure of whether people are overselling or overbuying. Right? Yeah. So it tells you, say, if the stock has been oversold and it continues to be oversold, when you should essentially buy in. Because unless there has been some sort of news thing, people just dump the stock for whatever other reason, right? And it's an opportunity to buy. Then you can do things like your Monte Carlo analysis, which is essentially a statistical analysis of where the stock is going to go. You can do things like, what's my other one? I've seen the Rosby waves. I'm not a huge fan of those. Those are very psychological, and I'm not I believe in the Rosby wave. I'm not a huge fan of the Rosby wave as an indicator. But that's the thing, is that the Webull app allows you to do all of those things, and it looks like
this Rosby wave is sounding kind of like global warming. I mean, have you donned your hood?
The Rosby wave is 5 components. I think it's called the wave. I know it's the wave something. I think it's the whatever the thing is. I'm getting more alcohol into me, so the name calling and referencing portion of my brain is shutting down, and it's left with pure numbers. I'm just going to start.
I'm just hearing excuses.
So the short of this thing is, the premise is that you have the initial rise up, then you have a quick sell-off period, then you have your final rise up, a stabilization point, a loss point, and then a quick peak, and then a loss point. And that describes the...
So you're talking about the bear traps at the beginning and the bull traps at the end.
Essentially, yes.
Right.
And so there's an analysis technique that allows you to sit there and figure out exactly when to buy on these things and identify which portion of the wave you're in. It's one of the more interesting analysis analyses, I think.
So the thing is that these things can happen multiple times. Doggy coin right now is a fantastic example.
Yeah.
Actually,
by the way, what you're
let's kind of
seeing
get
is
into that and
multiple
silver as well, because that's a little bit different.
So what you're seeing right now with Doggy Coin is multiple bull traps happening as a ring down. And so what those are is, so the bear trap, it comes before the main rise. The bear trap is for people who think the market's just gonna go to shit. So what happens is you get a little bit of a rise, then it goes down when all the bears dump their stock thinking it's over. And that's the great time to buy, right before the main rise. And that can happen a few times as well.
And if I had not been installing a dishwasher yesterday, I would have been in at 21 cents, and I would have made a fucking killing today.
Right. So you had the main rise, which is the rush, and then at the end of that you have the bull traps. These are the people who think the market's still going to keep going up. They say, all right, the money, the price is high. Now's the time to buy in.
And that was where I was on Saturday while I was drunk.
And these are all the people
in the morning.
These are all the people who typically end up paying me.
Yeah.
I feel bad about it, but at the same time, that's what I'm gonna sell. So whoever's buying, man. But you can have multiple of these bull traps, and so that's what's been going on with Doggy Coin, and these can lead into a ring down towards a stable point, which is usually a return to the mean, whatever the baseline trend is.
So let's talk a little bit about silver.
No, I'm still here. I'm just looking at so while you're mentioning Doggy Coin, I'm looking at his technicals. I think it's actually going to go up. I think it is.
It very well could.
Not much. Like that whole 5-cent peak that it hit today is unlikely to be seen again.
Right.
But so I'm looking at the lower boundary base. And the lower boundary base has been moving from, what is this? I gotta see it.
It's picking up the same way Bitcoin does, but it's going at a slower pace in general. But it's doing that thing where it typically adds zero every so often.
Because I could probably mine Dogecoin for a shitload of money.
No, that's the thing, is you can't, because people figured that out several years ago. It used to be that you could mine Dogecoin for fucking nothing. It was very easy to CPU mine. But then people started doing it more, and now you have to use an ASIC again. But I think
really?
Still kind of GPU mine, but you have to. Here's the thing: in order to mine it, you have to use CG Miner, and CG Miner no longer does CPU or GPU. It only does ASIC. So you have to use several versions.
Wait, what?
CG
Miner no longer does CPU or GPU?
You have to use a several versions back version of CG Miner in order to enable GPU mining for Doggy Coin, and GPU mining Doggy Coin is not very efficient right now. It's not good. But yeah, if you have an old butterfly hanging out, you could use one of those. I'm actually kicking myself right now that I didn't have, since I ended up chucking them when I moved down here. I should have kept the 3 of the 4 that I had that were still functional.
Things you learn.
I could have easily been mining Doggy Coin just recently.
Oh my god. That's kind of crazy, but yeah. So I apologize for dropping out. I'm like I said, this is the thing that I am most interested in. So I have been spending time looking at these things and listening to inputs. Like again, I know how most of the financial markets work, but every single insight is a valuable insight. It goes into that little trap brain of mine. So. Going back to what we were talking about previously, Webull has a lot of really good technical indicator stuff that you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And as TD Ameritrade has the same thing. So one thing that I love about TD Ameritrade that I haven't found on Webull so far is the ability to look at news.
Yeah.
And so news is how I judge whether a stock is going to go up for a long, like it's a legitimate increase, rather than pump and dump or whatever stupid, ridiculous nonsense is happening in the market, right?
Well, so, and here's the thing. When we talk about regulation, otherwise, aside from the fact that it's supposed to keep you out, the principle, at least, the bullshit principle that is supposed to be believed is that it's supposed to prevent things like pump and dumps. It's supposed to prevent...
Which is kind of a shame. Right, because a pump and dump is literally no different than the lottery, except you actually have a better chance of winning.
Right. Like, it is a legitimate thing that happens in free markets, and preventing them artificially causes these back builds of bad behavior. And when it's regulated into existence, it's allowed to fester. And that's what we're seeing right now.
So
bubble that comes out of it.
So again, obviously, I'm going to reiterate: we are not financial advisors, right? But let us do a round table of whether we think what we think about a couple different stocks, right? So let's go through the whether it is wise to buy on Monday, right? Because we're recording this on Sunday, and we're only going to do Monday because this shit can change like nobody's business.
Fuck it. Let's also say Friday.
You want to say Friday? Okay, we'll go with Friday.
Let's do both. Monday and Friday.
Monday and Friday. Is it wise to buy or wise to sell?
Oh boy.
So let's go through some of these things. And again, I support Webull and TD Ameritrade for those who are listening, both of which are decent platforms. And I think the TD Ameritrade stuff went through faster than my bank recognized the withdrawal. Either that or I stole from somebody's account.
Oh, and as buy real quick too, there is a class action lawsuit. It was filed in the Southern District in New York against Robinhood.
I am so looking forward to it.
Oh,
they're gonna owe me so much money, all 15 cents or whatever the fuck it is.
But that times the millions of people across the whole fucking country.
Oh yeah, I mean, Robinhood deserves to burn in a fiery death.
God, the worst thing is this entire thing feels like Mt. Gox again.
I don't think so. It doesn't feel like.
Well, no, not the financial part of it. The process side of it. I feel like I'm gonna get these vague, poorly translated notices from some Japanese lawyer for the next fucking 10 years again.
I remember. So the last one was Cryptopia for me, and I basically wrote that off of my taxes last year. I said, "Fuck this. I'm not gonna get this money back.
Yeah.
Like that's not gonna fucking happen." And what was crazy was they allowed you to sit there and register to get coin deposits back in December, and then all of a sudden 3 days later it was gone.
Yeah.
And of course you had to sit there and recite from memory what the last 3 deposits you made were, what the last 3 withdrawals you made were. It couldn't be like, hey, this is my security code, let me back into my fucking account on that day.
Yeah, and then
no.
Poloniex was the same kind of pain in the ass. So it feels kind of like I'm getting that the process side of things and getting that vibe again. It's like, oh fuck, here we go again. But at the same time, this time it's gonna be it's like the difference between World War II and Vietnam. This one's fucking televised. I'm waiting for this shit to go down in front of me with popcorn.
Yeah, I concur. Looks like we're gonna be in for a quick rise here at Doge.
Yeah.
Just as an FYI.
Okay, so Monday and Friday.
Monday and Friday.
When the market's open, buy or sell. What stocks?
So GME, I wish I could say GME has too much exposure right now for me. I'm going to be honest. I can't find any data supporting anything that anyone's saying on it. So
yeah,
buyer beware and all that.
Fair. I would say buyer beware, but you know what? If you've got the money and you hate these people, buy.
Sure. If I had made enough money off Dogecoin over the weekend, I would be in for one share. Bed Bath & Beyond. I actually do support Bed Bath & Beyond. I think that's a decent choice. And the reason I actually do that is if you go take a look at shortsqueeze.com and you pull up Bed Bath & Beyond, it has 5.7 days to cover the shorts, and it shows that the percent of float is 65% still. So I still suspect we're looking at a short squeeze. You've still got quite a bit of time there. Now again, there could be data delays and all the other stuff. Not sure what exactly we're looking at. The exact statement is 2021 January. So I don't know when they're pulling this data from, but 5.7 days is a hell of a lot better than GameStop's 2.5 days to cover.
Yeah.
Now, that said, on the Bed Bath & Beyond, they are having some issues with MyPillow and Mike Lindell, so, make your own decision there, as you will.
Wait, what? What's going on there?
The
Politics.
stores, politics. The stores are not they say they're not going to carry his merchandise, but it is still available online.
It's kind of like Andy knows a book in that Portland bookstore.
Yeah, there's a number of people that the usual suspects have gone after because they carry the products of a person who is guilty of wrongthink, and so they have to be deplatformed and delived and debusinessed and,
Got it.
Burned alive at the stake.
Now, I think that the appropriate response to Mike Lindell's pillow is from Purple, where they literally, so one of the Purple ads a long time ago for their pillows. I actually own a Purple pillow. It's fantastic. I would have bought one for my wife, but it's $160, and
Holy shit.
I was like, you know what? Yeah.
How do you not just pay like $20 for a pillow?
Because I am an intelligent working engineer, and my head deserves $160 fucking rent.
Why
well, you know what they say, buy once, cry once.
Why wouldn't you just buy, like, 8 times the fucking pillows?
So I will actually say, I turned around and I had had my smartwatch on.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do as a test to find out how well I slept on this thing. It turns out that I actually do sleep substantially better.
Okay, good.
On the thing. Like, it's a solid, like, my sleep score per my Fitbit is a solid, I should definitely sell now. Whew, I'm above my original buy price. And we are still going. Look at this.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm very, very pleased here. In any case, my sleep score was a solid, like, 10 to 15 points above the, original value.
Uh-huh.
So I will say
the numbers support it.
They do. I'm not a huge fan of the Purple pillow. It's not as stiff as I like. Like, I really like firm pillows. The problem is that most of them are not at, like, the right height for my shoulder and my head. I got pretty wide shoulders. So, like, I kind of want to be able to balance it, and I want it to be like sleeping on a rock. I'm a big fan of sleeping on a rock. I think that's the best way to do it. I'm a fucking caveman over here.
I've got some good news for you, by the way.
Man.
You're going to love this. You're going to love it, Steve. So, what is it? Unterkommissar de Blasio, Unterkommissar de Blasio, has a new edict that has been released through his commissariat. He has said that beginning 6 a.m. tomorrow, as we're recording, non-essential travel will be restricted in New York City because of this horrible winter storm. Of course.
Oh, yes.
So,
well,
thankfully, all 3 peoples will be barred from entering the NYC Gulag. So, take some comfort.
Yes, the People's City is not going to be travelable because of the People's Problem.
Yeah, very So, I would say that's unfortunate,
you know what?
But it's like the devil is saying you can't come to hell. So
I am just saying, Craig, I invite you to New York. I would love to give you my gold star personally. Androlf Kuomler. You know what's really funny is I literally, like Friday, my wife and I went down to Maryland to go get a fucking dishwasher. So I don't really give a shit what Cuomo says.
That's fair. I mean, you probably shouldn't because, he doesn't really have a
Fredo motherfucker.
That's exactly right. You motherfucker, get back in the kitchen and make me some fucking lasagna.
Now, speaking of bad ideas and stupid bullshit,
man.
What's recently come out over the past week is that, if one mask works and you can save a life, why not two?
Fuck
now, we
you,
talked
motherfucker.
about this for a moment, and yeah.
You know what? So
going
I want to dive into this because I told you so. All you fuckers, I told you so.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. The bottom line is, stupid people do stupid things, and if you encourage them, they keep on doing dumber and dumber things. The depth of human stupidity is absolutely astounding.
But you're talking about fucking journalists here, all right?
Yeah.
Like a fucking journalist on NBC wearing a
No,
fabric mask.
No.
First off, and then putting another one on.
If you don't turn around and put your 30 fucking caveats on how to make your stupid idea work, right? And you just sit there and call it a mask, then the stupid people are going to take over and they're going to say stupid things. That's just the way it's going to happen. I told you that was going to happen because that's what always happens.
I don't need to have 30-odd caveats. I have one. I have one. Appropriate PPE. Put that on.
Hold on. You got to do appropriate PPE.
That's one fucking
worn in
one
the
fucking
appropriate
word.
manner, changed to the appropriate time, with replacement in an appropriate manner. Yeah, no, sorry. By the time you get done, there's at least 10 caveats to make your shitty idea work. Right? And that's not going to happen. I remember when a psychology major, and I know this is sad, right? I'm sorry, people, but there was a psych guy who I respect utterly for sitting there and diving into the replication crisis. Turned around and said, this fashion designer will make cloth masks. We can do it! And you're like, oh my God, we're all going to die. Like, that's just the way it fucking was.
But
right?
a silk mask is more comfortable.
Yeah, you see, that's the kind of shit that pisses me off is they show up, these motherfuckers will show up, they'll put on the wrong fucking mask, they'll put it on the wrong fucking way, they'll tell you the wrong fucking extra information about it,
so
and they'll tell you...
Your one caveat is wrong. You've already gone through 3.
I'm sorry, I said appropriate PPE, and that's all I have to say. Fuck you.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. I stand by that, and you can eat that dick all day long.
It only works as appropriate PPE if, and only if, everyone is trained in how to use it. That is the problem.
And how fucking long did we have prior to it becoming some sort of mandate in certain locations?
Sure.
When they're saying you can try it out, you should wear it, here's how to do it.
In my state, they made it a mandate like 2 weeks into the
that's because you're not really in a state. You're in a fucking communist gulag.
You know what, motherfucker? Come here. I'll give you a gold star myself.
You're not in a real state. You're in a fucking
you live in East Berlin, dude. You just live in a very large East Berlin.
Listen, Craig, I will pin the gold star on your chest myself. We have special cash for you people, damn it.
I demand to have the fucking key to the city at the same time, or to have Quomler do it himself.
I'm sure that Quomler would happily pin it.
Hey,
he'll even give you a complimentary tattoo.
Hell, he might give you 2, and one might be personally embroidered.
He'll show up. Hey, it seems like you had a bit of a long trip here. Step in. Have the shower ready for you.
Hell, he'd pin the gold star to your chest and sing "Hey Jude" at the same time.
He'd show up in his fucking brown uniform, doing the Carton March.
It's so funny because it's sad.
I'm amazed he hasn't come out and started screaming in German yet.
You know what? We all wait for his Mel Gibson moment, and it does not happen.
Well, I mean, there was that whole thing with, the synagogues and everything and all that, so...
Oh, God, come on, the Orthodox and the ultra-Orthodox are fucking goofy bastards, but, and everybody knows it. Even
but they still got a point.
Okay, the only people who don't know it are the ultra-Orthodox, but that's because they still think they're living in fucking biblical Israel.
Well, I mean, there is a comparison to be made for New York and Mammon, so...
Well, Jews do have a form of Westboro Baptist Church. The problem is they look just like all the other Orthodox. The ultra-Orthodox do not look any different, but they're fucking crazy. So it's just like... What did he think was going to happen? What the fuck did he think was going to happen? All the lawyers that he uses are Jewish.
Yeah, right?
Well, I mean, why wouldn't he think he can get away with it?
He thinks he's going to come in with a fucking Irish lawyer and win that case?
Well, I have some heartening news for you, fellas. There's on the one who's been what was it here? She's been set to lead the federal office that helps states manage childless benefits. Her name's Susie Levine. She has a lot of experience working with Nigerians. As a matter of fact, she was able to transfer $600 million of wealth to Nigerian artists that had, they had the United Nations, bank fund, house fund, super lottery. And unfortunately, she just didn't get her $600 million in time to, reap the benefits. So, what you can do?
So was a prince involved?
I believe there was a Nigerian
any
prince,
royalty?
yes.
So I actually know somebody who fell for that scam.
Oof.
Well, actually, let me rephrase that. I know of somebody who fell for that scam. I am 1 degree of freedom, 2 degrees of freedom away from somebody who fell for that scam.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's kind of. I never met the guy personally, so it was basically my in-law, my mother-in-law, who I have. Hold on, got to make sure the wife's not around. All right, she's gone to bed. Sweet, I'm safe.
Yeah, not for long.
I have the ultimate respect for her. She's actually got a good head on her shoulders, and she kind of gets it for the most part. That may be years of experience. I love my wife dearly, but my wife sometimes does not get it. And it is a thing, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. For those of us who are engineers, we know those who have it and those who don't have it, and it's very difficult to describe it in any other way than an it. It's just a fundamental, understanding of how the world actually works.
Are you there yet, or are you not?
Yeah. You can, some people just...
Some people are awake.
Some people are wicked, some people are...
And that's a bad word for it, because it's not like awake or not awake. It's like there's a fog.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult.
Do you have the high beams, or do you have the low beams?
I don't even know if I would put it that way. It's like, you want to call it common sense. You want to call it a lot of different things, but it's literally the ability to understand your environment in its totality, or the understanding to understand the environment in a partiality, right? You get how the environment works, but you don't really understand the true, mastery of that environment, right? A good engineer...
Okay, I guess...
A good engineer can change the world. A great engineer bends the universe to their will. That's the difference
Never in a
between
fulcrum,
those
as
who
they say.
have it versus those who are formally trained in it.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of formal training and perhaps the lack thereof, let's just talk about these 20 million COVID-19 vaccine doses that who knows what happened.
The ones that are just fucking missing?
Yeah, they just up and walked away, I guess.
Listen, Biden doesn't know where he is half the time. If you
won
expect him to know
Taco
where 20
Tuesday, I'll
million
have you know.
vaccines are.
Look, I'm pretty sure he didn't know he was in a fucking basement. I bet he thought he was out campaigning.
He was campaigning in his basement.
Right. I bet you he thought he was literally out fucking side, standing there waving to a fucking camera that was off. They waited for him to sit down. Like, all right, are you tired yet? Are you ready to sit down? Like, okay, good. Now we'll turn the camera on. The camera's on this time, right, sir? He's our president now. It's hilarious.
Well,
I think my favorite
will benefit from Batacaf care and on a shaman of depressor.
I think my favorite thing so far was the one guy who was like, "Wait a minute, what if it happens that Trump was really the good guy all along in the media?"
Oh my God, that was funny.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was great. That poor person. No, could you imagine though? Could you imagine their normal day? This is the guy who finally put the fucking glasses on. He's in It's Alive. He puts the glasses on. It's like, oh my God, what happens? The whole world looks like shit.
Yeah, we're over here with our nightmare glasses on, saying, "Wait, why does everything look exactly the same when I turn on the nightmare glasses?"
I feel
Once
so
you
bad.
see them, they notice you.
I feel so bad for that individual. Could you imagine being that guy? That you're like, wait a minute. What if I was wrong about everything?
Could you imagine the way his circle of friends reacted to him saying anything like that? Like, even as a joke, let alone, like, being serious? Like, the instantaneous ostracization that he must have experienced.
And I feel bad. I really do feel bad. Like, that's not something that somebody should experience.
No, it's gotta be horrifying.
But it's one of those things where it's gotta be, like, a legitimate revelation where... And this is why I really am a huge fan of the Wall Street Bets community and everything that's happening.
Continue dissolving that cogniz.
It is legitimately, and this is the great part about it. What we haven't really talked about is it is 4chan culture. It is Gamergate. It is all of this shit.
I mean, it's not, but it is.
It is. It is. If you dive into that chat, my wife was like, "Holy shit, they are fucking racist."
Well, that's the thing is a lot of Chan culture has this racist overtone to it, but it's largely joking. There are people who take it seriously, and they're fucked up.
Right.
But most people are there being ironic about it, and it's because it's an honest form of joking.
It is.
If being completely honest here, racist jokes are funny. They are. They really are.
Who do you go for the best Jew jokes? You go to the Jews. Who do you go for the best black jokes? You go to the black people.
Yeah, it's like if you want a good white people joke, you're not going to get it out of black people.
Like, you ever notice that all the fucking insults that are made about white people, they just don't really care about? It's because they don't ask them what fucking insults you.
Yeah, I mean,
just
go and watch the Boondocks.
I knew. So we had a friend who was a Jewish lawyer.
Points for creativity, but like cracker's not offensive to white people.
We had a friend who was a Jewish lawyer.
Yeah.
And he, like, I'm a little asshole. I'm always a little asshole.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has to have that asshole friend, and I strive to be that asshole friend. Because that way I know that there's always someone who needs me.
Well, that's just your personality deficit showing itself.
I don't give a shit, right? I'm married. I work for a national lab. All of y'all can go fuck yourselves. That's how that works out, right? But I turned around to this guy, right? Who was he is friends with my family because of my sister, who I don't have the most respect for, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I turned around and I started telling lawyer jokes, because he's a lawyer. And the guy's like, "Oh, fuck, you think you know lawyer jokes? Let me tell you some." And I was like, holy shit. And so I sat there and I tried to switch to Jewish jokes. He goes, no, son, I am Jewish. I got some jokes for you.
Right.
And you're like, ah.
Yeah, prepare to learn.
You have 60 years of learning Jewish jokes and lawyer jokes on me. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, you could say it's written in his DNA.
You really can. And you're like,
or just on the front of his nose. He can see it anyway.
I think I can teach you something. He's like, no. Kimosabi. Time to learn the ways of the Jew.
Oh, God, I miss back when Lake Wabagon was like a good thing.
Lake what?
Oh, you don't know about the Kemosabe card?
No, is that like a band camp thing?
No. So NPR has a segment by a guy. It's Lake Wabagon, like Wobegon. So kind of like Orwell and Good is Oh Well and Good, or All Well and Good rather. So Lake Wabagon is a fictional location, and the show was a comedy show where you tell stories about Lake Wabagon. And one of the things in it was you could sign up for the Kemosabe card. So you could, like a card carrying member of Lake Wabagon show.
Ah.
So it was a thing. Anyway.
Okay then.
Now that I've derailed that one completely.
Yeah, well, not completely. Only
every single time you chime in with those things, Craig, it kills the conversation. So
fantastic.
you have at least one talent.
Yeah, my other talent's being right.
That's what you think. Granted, you are an engineer, so that's at least a fairly legitimate perspective.
Yes, it is.
So I don't know if it's the best segue, but this is something else we should cover: the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
Yeah, it's a standard vaccine.
It's a real vaccine, like not mRNA. It's the actual
not
dead virus.
not gene therapy.
It is a weakened virus vaccine. Of the vaccine types that are out there, it is a weakened virus vaccine.
It is a real vaccine as opposed to borderline.
No, we went through the definitions last time. I'll let you fucking slip on that one.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. Use the fucking dictionary if you need to.
I'm okay with
are any substance that will cause you to have an immune response specific to a disease.
Nope.
Well, if we're using that specific definition, I mean, there
is inoculations, which we could call vaccines, but we don't call them vaccines because they're completely different from vaccines.
And if we're going to be pedantic, and we might as well.
We're talking about Johnson & Johnson here.
Now
we're talking
real
vaccine.
No, it's so is AstraZeneca's.
No.
Keep going. Yes, it is. No. Are you fucking kidding me? Absolutely it is.
No.
Go look it up right now. I'm not fucking budging this one. Go look it up right now. AstraZeneca vaccine. Tell me what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure they call it a vaccine.
Well,
go look it up. I'm waiting for this one. I need to experience this dawning moment. Go ahead.
What do you want me to say?
Type into Google AstraZeneca vaccine. Go ahead.
You just kind of played yourself. You said type into Google, so.
Yeah, I don't care. Fine, type it into DuckDuckGo. AstraZeneca vaccine.
No, I'm not going to type in AstraZeneca vaccine.
No,
at the end of the day, there is a fundamental difference.
You know you're wrong now. That's the problem.
I do not. You know what's really sad is even if I do choose to Google it, it takes like 30 different links before I get a Wikipedia, and I certainly don't get a dictionary.com definition. That's really sad.
AstraZeneca.
I'm not clicking on what they're advertising.
Yeah, I mean, it is basically all just buzzwords and
It is buzzwords.
If we're being
it's not based on mRNA, right?
Right.
No, this is why I'm telling you, you're fucking wrong. Even by your definition, it's a vaccine.
No, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to pull this Wikipedia article into chat, because that's the way it should be. At the end of the day, they call these things different types of vaccines. But at the same time, there's what we can typically accept as a
this
vaccine.
Is now your 30 caveats here, buddy.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not your 30 caveats.
I'm rubbing your face in it.
No, the majority of people do not necessarily agree that this is a vaccine.
No,
if you turn around and say that I am going to sit there and give you some mRNA instructions and your cells are going to produce a protein automatically that you've never produced before,
right?
That is not what most people would consider a vaccine.
You know what
most people consider inactivated virus a vaccine.
You know what happens when you present a body an inactivated virus?
The body learns.
You know what your body does? You know what your body does? It produces proteins it never produced before.
No.
Yeah, it does.
There is a difference between coding something for your immune system to respond to, forcing your cells to produce the actual protein, and you actually responding to a protein in a natural way.
This is all you avoiding the fact that AstraZeneca's vaccine is deactivated. It's a weakened virus vaccine.
I'm not sure I follow.
It's not an mRNA vaccine.
Wait, the AstraZeneca one isn't?
It isn't. I fucking told you, yeah.
Hold on, let me take a look.
Oh, now you want to search it up.
Well, no, because most of the time you're sitting there and spewing bullshit, so whatever.
I fucking told you you're wrong, and you were.
So what, is just the
I'm
Pfizer
okay
one
with
the
that.
mRNA vaccine?
If I am wrong, I accept being wrong.
It is similar to the Johnson & Johnson. They're both based on common cold virus.
That is correct. He is correct. I am wrong. People of the world, all 7 of you, I am wrong.
All 7 of you, and don't you fucking tell anybody else.
Now, if you happen to spread this beyond the circle of 7, which the sacred circle of 7, I will murder all of you.
Yeah, now we got fucking branding. Got a goddamn trademark on this shit. The circle of 7 that are doomed.
Indeed. We are a doomed lot.
Got fucking t-shirts and shit. Mickey Mouse coming out in the hat.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work on some See if we can get one person to buy something.
I will. So apparently he is correct. The AstraZeneca version is, in fact, a weakened virus.
It's an adenovirus variant.
I'd be okay with it. I would actually take that. I will not take the Pfizer version.
Yes, Pfizer, Moderna, or mRNA, AstraZeneca, Oxford AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. These are the weakened cold virus vaccines.
So a traditional vaccine.
More of a traditional vaccine.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, here's the thing. What they used to just a traditional vaccine used to just be either the snot out of someone else's nose.
No.
Or
that is a lie, good sir.
At the very beginning, before they called something a vaccine that we know as a vaccine, it was by taking fluids out of an infected individual.
Well,
then we came up with modern microbiology and moved on from the fucking dark ages.
No. First off, it wasn't snot out of somebody's nose. I mean, it wasn't.
The point was it was body fluids.
This was called inoculation. It was not called vaccines.
The point was that it was body fluids.
It was body fluids, but there's more to it than that. An inoculation.
The point wasn't to fucking hang on that one issue.
No, but an inoculation is fundamentally different than a vaccine. This is,
yes, it is
highlighting the difference between where we were and where we are today. So right. An inoculation is the first type of immune response thing that we've ever produced.
And this was actually stimulating substance.
Yes.
How about that?
And this was actually originally done with this was identified by the Catholic Church. And it was done with smallpox.
Yeah,
it's the very, very, very first thing that they ever did. And so what they did, and this is how far back
pox secretions.
They did. Well, let's talk about. They would walk up to an infected person who was dying. They would cut open the sores on their skin. They would drain the fluid into a bowl. Then they would cut open a healthy person. And then sit there and take a swab and pour it into the wound. And that was how they originally did vaccines. Which is why we don't call
what did you just call it? That was originally how they did what now?
That was originally how they did what they do for now. Right?
Yeah, you said vaccine.
That was an inoculation.
I know you didn't need to say it, but you fucking said it.
No, it doesn't work like that, motherfucker. It doesn't work like that.
Tell me, did they have the word vaccine back then?
No, they didn't.
No, they did not.
At the end of the day, we call these things different because it's a different technological stage. And it's very important. So when we start talking about these pustules that would appear, particularly with things like smallpox, the reality is what you would get out of your smallpox pustules was a weakened virus, because what you would get is something that your immune system had already responded to. Which, by the way, as an interesting point of fact, the reason the farmer's daughter is like a hot trope, even today, right, is the farmer's daughter. I'm dead serious. This is actually something that is an anachronism from a very, very long time past,
right,
where we have essentially lost the contextual understanding as to why the farmer's daughter is considered hot. The farmer's daughter is considered hot because the farmer's daughter was constantly exposed to cowpox at a young age. So the farmer's daughter would end up basically having an immune resistance to smallpox, which is how the first first smallpox vaccines came in. So where everybody else in the village was a fucking blistered, wrinkled, motherfucking, disgusting pussball, the farmer's daughter would still be relatively hot because she had cowpox, which is a weakened strain of smallpox and not as effective in humans, and that is why the farmer's daughter is a trope in modern literature, because back in the day when we first started writing literature, an actual thing. She was inoculated against the smallpox virus because the cowpox virus is similar enough that when she was sitting there and pulling on their udders, the farmer's daughter would gain immunity.
Anyway, the point was continuing forward here.
Well, let me just pause for one quick second and just say this. The more you know.
So the reason why the virus was weakened from the smallpox pustules is because they were already covered in a lot of antibodies.
That's true, yes.
So
I completely lost the plot because it is far more interesting to talk about sexual interactions of historical people.
Which is very different
than
from
it is
later
to
on.
talk about lacerated boils.
So, the point is here that it's very different from the way that viruses are weakened now and later on after we've discovered microbiology.
Because gamma rays are amazing.
So, later on, we started doing things with weakened viruses, and that was basically this person doesn't seem as sick, which is the reverse way of doing things. That was more of like the Hahnemann approach, which is, if you didn't know, Hahnemann was the guy behind what the hell now? Hahnemann was the guy behind homeopathy. So he can fucking die in a fire, but at the time he had a.
You never know. One drop in a 1,000 gallons might be.
He had as good a suspicion. He had as good a suspicion as anyone else as to how things are going on. But it used to be.
Yes, because we're talking about the time of frame in which people sat there and slit their wrists to balance their fluids.
They're humors. Excuse me, sir. They're humors. The four humors. Anyway.
Whatever, motherfucker. It's still fucking
Anyway,
weird.
they had no idea what the fuck they were doing back then, and weakened viruses were supposed to have come from people who were stronger. And then they figured out what a weakened virus really was, and later on, weakened viruses are something that are a product of Petri dish bullshit. In the intervening time, what happened was we started using, as he said, gamma rays, or just heavy doses of radiation to fuck up a virus's day. And give people dead viruses for vaccines.
And this is why nuclear engineers are superior, whether it be biomedicine
or
whether
Cobalt 60 is superior. Cobalt 60 and phosphorus 32 or whatever it is. Those are the superior things.
Did they really use Cobalt 60?
Yeah, the C60 sources are available in all the biolabs.
But I mean, Cobalt 60 is such a shitty choice to use if you're going to irradiate a sample. I mean, why would you use...
The source is already there, though.
Yeah, but I mean, U-235 emits much lower energy gammas. You'd be much more effective in your dosing if you sat there and used something else.
Yeah, but you see, this is also in the United States where not everybody just gets to have their hands on U-235. If that was the case, then that'd probably make the most sense.
I mean, cesium-137 is pretty prevalent. You could use that. That would be a better
yeah.
ice. Oh.
Regardless, sterilizers in labs are generally a C60 source, or CO60 source.
I'm really hoping for that carbon-60 atom.
Right.
That would be a pretty amazing atom.
Yeah, that'd be stable, right?
That sounds like it would be. I mean, I'm not a chemistry guy, but it sounds like it'd be pretty.
That's not a chemistry issue.
6 protons and 54 neutrons. Oh yeah.
That's a fucking physics problem right there. That's not even chemistry anymore. The electrons are orbiting so fucking close to the nucleus at that point.
Someday, yeah, it really would be. It would feel like
you would instantly get electron capture, man.
That would be the most amazing element ever created. It would
explode instantly. The strong force is
You're
not
right.
that strong right then.
Your half-life would be like nothing.
It would very quickly become carbon again, probably still highly radioactive, and a bunch of neutrons.
That neutron source would be an amazing neutron source. So when we start talking about neutron sources, right? So this is actually kind of an interesting little side bent. So typically what you do is you combine an alpha emitter, some sort of high element nuclides, plutonium, and a lot of times it's beryllium. I've seen lithium and americium, but I'm not really sure how that works out. Because when you go through the isotope calculation, it doesn't really work out. But you go through beryllium, and you add, 2 protons and 4 neutrons, or 2 neutrons to the beryllium atom, and it becomes incredibly unstable, and it automatically emits neutrons. So PUB sources, which is fantastic because it looks like pube. I really love writing that in all my documents. It just makes me.
It's the funnier is
so
how you hear how much you enjoy it when you say it.
You have no idea how much that 13-year-old who gets excited by the word.
That's like talking about the suction head on a. That's like talking about the suction head on a pump.
Yeah.
And then have. God,
there is nothing better than being in a room full of women and talking about head nonstop.
I can hear the joy in your voice right now.
There is a significant amount of joy. It may be joy that is held by one individual while everybody else is bored, but it is a joy nonetheless.
Well, you take pleasure in life when you can, after all.
I do indeed. But we talk about so basically what ends up happening when we talk about neutron sources, they typically only absorb an alpha particle, which is 2 neutrons, 2 protons. It hits them, it collides, and emits. So if we start talking about carbon, right, the stable isotope of carbon is typically carbon-12. When we talk about carbon-13 dating, that's because we know the half-life of carbon-13, and it's very short. If we start talking about adding more and more neutrons, so your nucleus is kind of this weird thing where you've got to have this balance between all the positively charged particles not attempting to explode and these negative particles, which are glue. The only problem is the negative particles don't bond to one another, so if you dissociate that positive charge over a large enough area, the end result is that the nucleus is inherently unstable, which is why our isotopes become unstable. So if we start talking about carbon, carbon has 6 positive ions, and we start talking about carbon-60, that has 54 neutrons.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the greatest neutron source the world has ever seen. It would disintegrate literally immediately into everything else besides carbon.
I'm sure somebody could find a pretty good use for something like that.
Yes, if I was a really smart individual, I would make a bomb out of it. But given that I'm not that smart and that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that does make a
This is the Michael McDoesn't exist of all atoms, all right?
I'm unlikely to achieve my goals of world domination by neutron bomb.
At least not with a carbon-60 one, right?
Now, I mean, neutron bombs otherwise are typically hydrogen bombs, and they're not really worthwhile. It shifts the energy spectrum, but it's not. It doesn't shift it enough. So all you do is you basically produce a lot of radiation, but it's only a 10% reduction in actual explosivity.
You know, that might actually be a worthwhile conversation to get into. I'd like to get somebody on. If
that
anybody
was,
knows anybody.
That was legitimately the debate over Christmas with an in-law who decided to go toe for me on nuclear physics. It didn't end well for him.
I am unsurprised.
In fact, I believe the concluding line was, I believe I can watch a documentary and educate myself, and me sitting there.
Oh my God.
Dropping an introduction to nuclear engineering textbook in his lap and saying, read this and then we'll talk.
Yeah. Oh my, no, the best one is when you can get to do that shit with Perry's. Thud.
Ah, Perry's.
Or my favorite is to drop that and the CRC on top of it. Boom, boom, come back when you're ready.
Oh, but to finish up the last point I was actually making on the new vaccine from Johnson & Johnson, aside from the fact that it is a traditional, as understood vaccine, it's going into effect. They've got their numbers aren't as good as these mRNA vaccines, but you have a lot less concern, and they say
so it's about the same population of people that were tested, by the way. So I think that they had 44,000 people on their trial. So you can imagine about 22,000 on each side of that. So placebo versus vaccinated, and their numbers aren't great, but.
But their trial also included the newer divergent variants or divergent.
That is another thing to point out. So that's the frustration here, and this is what I meant about things earlier. I guess if you could call this season 1 of the show. Towards the beginning, when I was bitching about things not going seasonal, you're probably going to see for at least for this year. Maybe and depending on how things go, it might be something. If it goes seasonal, that'd be probably an annual thing, like a flu vaccine, where you're going to be boosters that have to come out.
This was season 1 of the show. This was actually the first episode where you and I were together, because the first episode I was on was when he couldn't find you.
Right.
and
that's going to happen again, by the way.
We were actually, I'm sure it will. It's already happened where I'm not available.
Yeah, Craig's getting bionic ears. We'll tell you about it later.
Yeah. I'll mention that after the show. But I'm going to be March 5th. Probably going to be 1 or 2 weekends before I can come back in.
That's okay. I'll schedule my calendar accordingly.
Make sure, pour one out for me, man. I'll be recovering and high on OxyContin at that time.
We'll have to do something in memory of your once biological bit. You're taking that one more step to being more machine than man.
This was an actual discussion that we had. We said, hey,
oh my God.
We really don't. Craig said the reason that we should do lockdowns and blah 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 bullshit.
Yeah.
Which again, is his mask bullshit is fun. And I give him shit. And I wanna actually interject here. I'm so sorry. I give him shit, but at the end of the day, Craig and I agree on like 99.9% of all of the information that is shared on the show. Right?
You don't get your own facts. You get your own opinions.
Right. This is fundamentally a question of risk and risk management, which, by the way, has been entirely absent in this whole COVID thing.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
The only
public policy bullshit.
The only place that you actually get this discussion is basically between Craig and I, which is really fucking sad.
Yeah.
Right?
Because this should all have been public. All the shit we talk about should have been public from fucking day one. I bitched on Twitter relentlessly, and like a handful of people gave a shit. Which is fine, because I'm not expecting more than one person to give a shit, so I was already up from what my expectations were. At the same time, like, you'd think it needs somebody who had some brains between their ears and was in the position to do something about policy would have turned around and paid a little attention.
These are the kinds of things that should have been like
we pay people to do this.
Trump in March should have taken somebody like Craig and somebody like me and had each of us sit there and present our different worldview on how we handle this in front of the public. Because we agree on 99.9% of the shit. Fundamentally, the 0.1% of the shit doesn't really matter. And this really has to do with risk posture and explaining this to the populace. But somehow that has been fucking absent from this entire bullshit.
And here's the other side of that. Like, when it comes down to our differing opinions, at the end of the day, the common opinion that matters out of those discussions is that it's your choice, and you should be the one who makes that choice.
Yes, absolutely.
It shouldn't be Androlf Quomler or whoever the fuck else telling you from a podium, yeah, go home, your business is going to be out, but at least you're going to be safe in your little prison. We're going to drop by and give you your fucking daily dose of whatever.
These are the fundamental discussions in terms of risk analysis that we should have been having nationwide from the start, and this is the only place that, for all intents and purposes, this is happening.
Yeah, these sort of frank discussions just haven't occurred by and large. I mean, that's kind of the reason why I was driven to get this whole thing started, because it needs to happen.
I was going to say, the reason why you even tapped me in the first place is you're just like, hey, this whole COVID thing, like, you want to have a discussion about it, maybe we'll do a show or something. It's like, yeah, fuck it, why not? Like, I didn't realize it would be a series, which is fine, because this is great. But at the same time, like, you know, you're the first person to contact me and say, like, hey, let's have a discussion, like, on air or in a recording or something, and actually hash some of this shit out.
And these are the things that we, Craig and I, agree on the bulk majority of the actual data.
Well, there's like the mRNA thing. I call it a vaccine. He's going to say it's not a vaccine. At the end of the day, that's not really the part that matters. It's us giving each other shit. Like, the fact that people are going to try and, like, maybe push this on people, why the fuck did you do that? Making it mandatory is going to cause harm.
The conversation that I had at my technically at a Christmas gathering like a couple weeks ago, or last week, and at the end of the day, the argument that I got was, well, they're going to force this on people anyways in order to function in your total life. And I can guarantee you that Craig and I are completely 100% aligned that should not be what happens. Right. Regardless of what we think about this vaccine, regardless of what we think about the politics of the whole entire thing, that doesn't matter. What matters is that you should be allowed to make your own choice, and you should be able to make an informed choice.
Yeah,
and that is the discussion that has not happened.
So instead of getting, like, two competent people who know what the fuck they're talking about, instead you got Birx and Fauci, who are just up there mostly playing politics. You get a little bit of this, that, a little bit of the back and forth of things, and, here's what we think is going on. But then they go ahead and play politics with the information distribution. We knew that they weren't going to tell people.
To this day, we've got Fauci still playing politics.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, we knew, for instance, that we were going to have some sort of lockdown, and we knew that it was going to be forced on people regardless of whether or not it was going to be a full lockdown or not. We knew that they didn't want panic buying, so they're going to slow roll it. And the problem was that they're going to slow roll it past the point where they were going to be actually effective if they didn't do them in a complete fashion. Instead, we got this fucking 15 days to fucking year later to slow the spread.
Well,
right?
and
15 days to slow the spread.
These are kind of the things. Fundamentally, when we start talking about a lockdown, I agree with Craig when he says that we should do a true lockdown. If you want to shut this virus down, you want to do a true lockdown. I agree with him that that would actually work.
And that was all I was saying before, and now he gives me shit for it, which is fine, but, like, that was it.
I disagree. Where we disagree is whether that's pragmatic or not.
Yeah, so when we talk about feasibility, like, there was a time where it was a feasible mechanism to shut down things. He and I disagree on when that would be, like, the boundaries in time where that exists. I'm a little more optimistic than he is on that. That's about it.
How long it could actually happen.
Well, how long it would have to happen versus could happen. Those are two different dates, or two different deadlines.
And those are the things that we end up talking about. 90% of this show, where we give each other shit, is us just giving each other shit to give each other shit. Because we're assholes.
That comes with engineering, too, by the way.
It is. It really is. Like, we're like, hey, I'm fucking smarter than you. You're fucking smarter than me. And we fucking duke it out.
We're all used to being right all the time with everybody else, so when it comes to actually talking to each other, it's like, I'm right. Well, maybe I'm right, too. I don't know. You're an asshole. You're an asshole.
This is the great part about being an engineer, is that you're pretty much... See, anybody who wants a real career, go be an engineer. Because if you like being right 100% of the time, engineering provides you the tool set to make that argument 110% of the time. Because eventually you get to a point where not only can you actually argue the real feasible points, but then you can sit there and make it so complicated that nobody wants to look at it.
Yeah, and then you can call it Enron Enterprises or whatever.
That's exactly right. You're like, whatever.
Oh, wait, or the subprime housing market. Or hell, we could even call it a hedge fund.
Indeed.
Oh, my God.
But speaking of hedge funds, I will say it's excellent that the veil has been pulled back on a lot of this. Because people are seeing how they're getting fucked every day. And they have not been able to see it with their own eyes.
Why aren't these companies doing well? Well, we have a reason. Why did the stock market have such a banger year last year? Well, we've got a good answer now.
Yep. Well, I mean... the stock market does a good. So the problem that you have, right?
Well, they got this injection of capital from the government that we're going to have to pay back in taxes anyway.
And this is actually a significant portion of my issue with vaccines, quote unquote vaccines, and that's actually what we had as a discussion before the show. My issue when we start talking about the vaccines is that basically people have turned their last and final hope into this vaccine as the way to deliver them from evil. And guess what, motherfuckers?
Yeah.
It's too late. You are fucked. So you just gotta deal with it.
The thing is, you've got to deal with it in terms, like, there's behavioral issues. You know, for instance, people who want to go outside pull their fucking mask down below their chin. You know, in the middle of a fucking heavy crowd, shout Black Lives Matter and then chug a fucking champagne bottle as they just got from someone else who used their mouth on it.
You know what? Just because you mentioned Black Lives Matter, there's something I have to bring up. Kamala Harris.
Boy. How'd I fuck this up?
Kamala Harris did direct donations to that domestic terror organization.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not hearing a single fucking word about it. And
yeah, her $2 million bail fund, right?
Oh!
That bitch bailed people out of that, and then she's out there complaining about the, I shouldn't say that bitch, that complete nutter asshole.
Yeah, we don't want to
She doesn't deserve to have that ability to dismiss that insult.
We sit there and we talk about the Capitol riots, and I believe, and I will actually say that I have been educated in the last week that there is an actual viable route to strike back against the establishment that doesn't involve invading the Capitol, right?
Wall Street Bets, everyone else do.
Wall Street Bets has proven that there is a way to sit there and harm Joe Biden without actually sitting there and actually harming Joe Biden. I am amazed. I am stunned. I have learned an amazing... I have grown as a person in the last week.
All that took was the combined power of internet autism. Nothing beyond their reach.
Bless you, dear internet autists, for all the good that you have done for us in the past decade.
I should have learned from He Will Not Divide Us. I should have learned a lesson.
Oh man, that poor guy.
Oh, that broke him,
dude. The fact that they are able to from a difference in paint shade.
Okay. There's going to be a lot of people who have no idea what this is, so let me give a quick TLDR.
There is
Shia
no
LaBeouf,
quick
right?
TLDR will do this justice. This is internet autism at its finest.
It truly is. Well, let me give the brief so that people understand. We've got Shia LaBeouf from Transformers and some other shit. He is very upset that Donald Trump is the president because reasons. He never really goes into it, but he has said that he will not divide us. So he sets up an art project. Anyway, in New York
that's
City.
That's how fucking Hollywood's shit biscuits.
So he's got a recorder up, and he's just going to be broadcasting this flag that says "He will not divide us." This sign, actually, it started out as a sign.
And then him sitting there saying it, staring directly into the camera for hours on end.
And the plan was that he would do this for all of Donald Trump's term. Well, very quickly, a number of these beautiful, beautiful individuals from the internet.
Most of which who probably listened to this episode.
Possible. Right. Well, much more than to listen to this episode, I mean, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But a bunch of those
we poll this group as a large portion of our audience.
That's
God, I wonder if you can get one of these.
I would be none surprised if we have a large cross-section of the demographic there. But these folks, they came out and they made life more fun for Shia. But he did not seem to appreciate this. He was a real killjoy. You know, they were coming out, they were just having a grand time, trying to make a party of the whole thing. And, well, Shia just wanted a funeral. So they just kept it up. And then every new thing would come up. Like, the guys would come up there.
The guy who screamed "re" every single time, and then the big tranny dude turns around. And I feel like he wasn't tranny. Just the angry guy. He turned around and just, shut up!
Yeah.
He will not divide us. Re!
Yeah, so it went completely sideways. And so Shia's like, all right, fine. I hate you people, but I'm still going to do my thing. So he commissions a flag that says "He will not divide us," and says that he is going to set it up somewhere where you can't find him or mess with his project, because he did move it once more after that to another video screen, and it was found relatively quickly.
Oh, dude, so each one of these times he tried to move it was one of the seasons of the show, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think it's on season 6 or later. Like, I know there was at least 5 of them. And there's just like the one where, like, so these people would just as soon as a new picture of the flag would show up, they would analyze the details about it with like zero context and pinpoint the fucker. And for one of them, they sent a goddamn drone to the top of the building and picked the flag off. It's astounding.
Let's give you an idea. Let's add some context, right? One of these was a flag, and all it was a flag with a picture of the sky. That's all they could see.
It's a flag on a flagpole
That's the only thing.
Being watched from the ground at a camera, at a steep angle.
So some motherfucker turned around and determined all of the potential flight paths that happened at the exact time that the film was happening, and determined and triangulated the position from the planes that appeared in the view
to the fucking building. It's like to the flag, like within a foot or whatever.
So, because Shia LaBeouf had decided to enable sound, right? They finally pinpointed the exact address by driving a truck around at a specific time interval and honking the horn. So when it picked up the sound, they actually identified the rough area it was, at which point they could go capture the flag.
And
this is the world's biggest and greatest game of capture the flag.
It really was.
It was. I am impressed.
And it broke Shia.
I, speaking as an engineer who have the ability to alter the world around them, I looked at this and said, that is more autism than I can handle. And I can handle a lot of fucking autism.
It was a truly beautiful thing. It truly was. And I'd really love to end on a positive note, and I don't think we've got anything that's positive happened recently, so we'll just leave it on that absolute classic.
Well, this was a positive note. I found out there's these flags that actually exist on Amazon.
Oh, wonderful. I will put a link. Unfortunately not sponsored, but, it is what it is.
Let's not do that if it's not sponsored. Seriously. I see something here that's
you can look this up. This is literally just the search link, so you can look this shit up on your own. It's not hard to do.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if we can't work out some affiliate links down the line. But either way, everybody, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll be back with more again soon. No worries. The world provides too much for us not to have something new to cover next week.
I'm looking forward to the next week.
Mm-hmm.
And keep your fingers crossed. Talk to you all again soon, and, well, be ready for anything, really.